been captured by the Indiana Pacers.
Alex Pillow wins the 109 Indianapolis 500.
This is the Fan Morning Show with KB, JB, and Jeff.
Good morning and welcome into another edition of the Fan Morning Show. We are 2 days removed from that mistake-prone game against the Los Angeles Rams. Good morning, Kevin Bowen. Good morning, James Boyd. Mark Dykton, always happy to see you in the morning. James Boyd, fresh back from Los Angeles. We just want to know, in your cushy first-class seat, did you just dream away on the way back in, or did you do work, or what was going on there, man? We appreciate you joining us, by the way, from the plane.
Yeah,
that was good.
Always happy to join the show, but yeah, I was asleep for pretty much every flight. I always sleep on every flight. It doesn't matter if it's a 20-minute flight from Chicago to Milwaukee, which I did when I was on the NBA side of things, or if it's a 3-hour flight across the country. And no, I was not in first class. I was in, I believe, 31D yesterday, but I don't care where I sit as long as I got a seat.
That's quite the talent, being able to sleep on any flight possible. That's that's rare air.
Honestly,
I think it's easy.
I think
really, you guys can sleep on any flight.
Well, I think
no
the
matter
NBA
what?
made me like that.
Yes.
Because when I first started, I couldn't sleep. But then if you get tired enough living the NBA life and you're constantly on the move, if you don't sleep on planes, you're never going to sleep.
Yes.
So ever since I developed that skill, it has not left me.
Gosh, you guys got a special talent.
I want to be my wife, though, when it comes to sleep. She can fall. She has. In really boring one-sided football games, I've seen her fall asleep at an NFL game. I think the Colts were just drubbing someone back in the Andrew Luck day one time, and I looked over and she's just sound asleep.
So she was well rested after last night's doubleheader then.
I don't think she was watching the Monday Night Football doubleheader last night. Although I guess the big thing that came out of that before we get to the Colts, looks like Tyreek Hill may be lost for the season after what looked like a gruesome dislocation of a kneecap last night. He's 31 years old, James. What does that mean for him moving forward?
Well, they also said they believe it's not actually the kneecap, that it's the knee itself, which is worse.
I saw that report this morning. I haven't seen that.
But yeah, so it is obviously a major injury for him. And at that age, you have to question, can you get back to being the Tyreek Hill that we know, which is the speedy guy who changes games because of that rare skill that he has of being super duper fast. So, prayers out for him because that was a nasty looking injury.
Yeah, we'll talk a lot about the Colts today, getting ready for the Raiders coming up this weekend. But KB, how excited for you? And I love the L.A. De La Cruz T-shirt this morning. For those who can't see on the YouTube, way to show up on that. I appreciate that.
Yeah, he's been checked out for 6 weeks. It's nice of you to show up during the playoffs now.
Wow. Mark, good luck to your Cubs. Jeff, your thoughts on the pitching change here for the Reds coming up in Game 2?
If it's not pitching in this series for the Reds, it's not going to happen because how many runs do you think they can score a game?
Do you know the pitching change in Game 2? Maybe we should start there.
Go ahead, because I have not heard of the pitching change in Game 2.
We got to get your fandom to playoff level here now that we are into October baseball.
I just haven't seen that.
Nick Lodolo to the bullpen. Zach Littell here coming up in Game 2. Very interesting in my eyes. But tonight, this is why you draft Hunter Green where you draft him, and cannot wait for it. If there is a Reds hope, it is with those arms, and you pray that the bats can somehow muster enough runs, which I'm not holding my breath on that. But yeah, we got a loaded slate. 1 o'clock, we'll get things started. And Tuesday, again, best of 3 here in the wild card round. So we'll see how the Cubbies can do, Mark, and we'll see how the Reds can do. And of course, Red Sox, Yankees, that slots right into your prime time there, 6 o'clock. So Cubs in the afternoon, Reds, brew your coffee. It'll be 9 o'clock all week long.
Yeah, I like that move, though, because I like having somebody who, if you need to, can stretch out to 3, 4, 5 innings during a game if somebody gets a little banged up, because I think you're going to have relatively quick hooks here. If people get in trouble, not named Hunter Green, but I think if Abbott gets into trouble, for example, Lodolo, I think you can bring somebody in and hopefully nail it down for 4 or 5 innings. I'm nervous about all of it, but let's go. We got to just pitch because I don't think they're going to score 5 runs a game, Kevin.
Yeah, scoring has been an issue for the team. So October baseball is here.
All right, looking forward to that. Also, a media day at the Pacers yesterday. James, I don't think you got back in time for that. It wouldn't have been probably your thing anyway. But, everybody's acknowledging that there's going to be changes in the starting 5. And it looks like everybody's talking about the change at center at this point in time. Speaking of that, before we get into the Pacers, did you guys see what Miles Turner said? Did you take anything nasty out of that? Said he wanted to be in a place, he's happy to be in a place where he's going to be celebrated. Did we not celebrate him during the playoffs?
I thought it was an interesting comment for sure, mainly because he has been loved for, I thought, the majority of his career here with the Pacers. Now I get that from the management standpoint, he was always on the trading block, which might, fuel some weird feelings about your tenure with the team. I thought the fan base was pretty supportive, and the only time they really got critical of him was when he struggled, and he struggled mightily in the finals. And so if that's the last image or last thing that he kind of latches onto, then yeah, they probably weren't the most loving fans, but that's any fan base when you play that poorly on that stage. And so he's talking about how the Bucks fans embrace him and love him, and it's like, yeah, that's every fan base until you play poorly. So that was very interesting to me, and I would love to hear more from Miles of just why he seems to always want to, stoke the fans a little bit.
I'm just curious, Kevin. You've been here for the entirety of the Miles Turner duration here before he left to Milwaukee. Were you a little surprised that he kind of said, I want to be in a place where they're going to celebrate me? Or is it just one series at the end of the NBA Finals that soured him on everything?
No, I don't think it has much to do with the final series. I think to James's point, this is a guy that felt like for so often he was left on the side of the room during the dance, and then finally someone asked him to be out on the dance floor, and he's going to let everyone know that he is out on the dance floor with the Milwaukee Bucks. There's part of me that's
y'all
like,
see my new girlfriend's basically what he's saying.
Pretty much, yeah. Part of me says, Miles, dude, let's just move on. I get that media day is kind of one of the few times where you go over everything from a offseason standpoint. So I'm sure he was asked something along those lines, but it seems like every time he's had the opportunity to speak here this offseason, he's gone out of his way to address the I wasn't treated fairly, which again, the Pacers, they largely treated him like, a nice NBA player, which I think is fine.
That's who he is.
And he clearly wanted a little bit more. So circle the date on the calendar, right? It's one of the earliest games in the season. I believe it's that first Monday in November inside of Gamebridge Fieldhouse. I think the Boo Birds will be aplenty, and frankly, they should be aplenty, especially as soon as that ball is tipped.
Yeah, and also heard from Tyrese Halliburton talking about the fact that he has not watched any of the NBA Finals, and he says at some point he plans to get to it, but it's just he doesn't have it in him right now, and I totally get that, James Boyd.
Yeah, absolutely. It's tough the way it ended, and nobody has to relive that moment more than Tyrese in his own head. So I feel for him in that regard. It was weird seeing him in the uniform because we know this upcoming season he will not be in uniform. But as all the players always say, which I think is a complete cliche, I'll learn the game from a coach's perspective. Sure. But I think it's going to be very tough for him, or I know it's going to be very tough for him to not be out there with the rest of the guys. But at the same time, plenty of opportunity abound for the rest of that group, starting with someone like Benedict Mathurin, who I think is in for a very crucial year. Extension eligible, I believe, fairly soon here as well. And then looking at Andrew Nembhard, I think his role will have to shift a lot. And, there's plenty of – because the other roles are shifting, there's other roles that will come of that. Who's going to be the best on-ball defender? Jarris Walker, I heard him talking about, improving on defense and rebounding. So there's going to be opportunities for this team to still, make some noise.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. Now, are we burying the lead tonight where the Indiana Fever play at 9:30 tonight in Las Vegas? They are one win away from going to the WNBA Finals in what has been a crazy, crazy year, James Boyd.
Yeah, it's do or die, and I love it. I mean, I was watching – you guys will appreciate this. I was watching Game 4 during the Colts Rams game, so I'm like looking up to make sure I don't miss anything from my real job, but also as someone who lives in this city, I was very curious to see what the Fever were doing. So I was yelling out updates pretty much throughout the Colts game until that one ended, and just a very gutsy performance, I thought, all around, withstanding that big night from Asia Wilson. You'll need more of that tonight if you want to win, and so the recipe remains the same. You need a big Kelsey Mitchell night. You need your role players to step up as well. And you got to hope that, one of these aces players you can, have off their game a little bit. And then if it's close at the end, it's anybody's game.
All right, a lot to talk about today. We've got WNBA playoffs. We got Major League Baseball playoffs. We got football to talk about as the Raiders come to town coming up on Sunday. So much more to get to, including even some college football this week. It's all straight ahead. It's the Fan Morning Show on a Tuesday, 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
107.5 The Fan.
Happy Tuesday morning. Got a busy day of sports for you. Let's start it off with Game 5 of the WNBA playoffs. 9:30 tonight. 9:15 start with Eddie Garrison and the Fan pregame show. And Kevin Bowen, it all comes down. I know they got one more series if they can get the win tonight. But I don't think anybody expected them to be in the 5th game against the Las Vegas Aces, let's say a month and a half ago, did they?
No, not at all. And Vegas, that would be the ones building the buildings out there to gamble in. No respect for the Fever tonight. They are a massive underdog in this win and move on, a 7.5-point underdog. Oof. You go back to Game 2 out there, James. I thought the Vegas guards were a big difference maker in that game. And you get into these series, I'm such a believer, home floor can kind of lift some of your others.
Yeah.
That's part of my concern tonight. But certainly on Sunday, as you were trying to multitask, as we all were, that was a hell of an effort by your two All-Stars. Can they deliver once again for you? And Kelsey Mitchell did it in Game 1. We'll see if she's got some more magic on the road tonight.
Well, that's the thing they've been counting on. I know where they've had so many injuries, and obviously Caitlin Clark and Sophie Cunningham, and down the list it goes. But I've also been saying that the thing that's helped the Fever, they've gotten great role play from a lot of people, but Aaliyah Boston and Kelsey Mitchell can play on any team in the WNBA. They're really, really good players, James.
Yeah, and I thought Aaliyah was outstanding last game. Anytime you can go tit for tat with the MVP and Asia Wilson and basically be a wash between those two players, that is a very good thing for your team because we know for the most part Asia Wilson is usually going to get hers, and so I thought Aaliyah went right back at her, drew a lot of fouls in that game, and that's what Becky Hammond and a couple of players were complaining about after the game, like, hey, how does she get 13 free throws and my star only gets 6? But, you're at home, so I guess that's how it works sometimes. We'll see if the officiating is similar or a little different on the road, but nevertheless, you got to make shots. And I think Aaliyah and Kelsey, obviously, like you said, Jeff, have the capability of doing that, but what can the others do? For example, Odyssey Sims, last game, 6 of 9, big performance.
Yep. That'll start again 9:30 tonight, tip 9:15 airtime with Eddie Garrison. Pacers got together for Media Day yesterday, coming off Game 7 of the NBA Finals. Of course, the devastating injury to Tyrese Halliburton. He was on hand speaking to everybody yesterday, and he said despite injuries, despite the lineup changes, despite everything that's going to be different this year, he says he and everybody else on that team last year helped set the standard, and that doesn't change.
Well, the standard is the standard. We have created a culture here that is special in this league, and it's something that I really care about. When I got traded here, the only guy that's still here from that group is TJ, and there wasn't much of a culture here. Coach Rick and the staff were helping build that, and I think we've done a great job, and that's not changing. So just because I'm not playing, we're still going to play fast, still going to pick up full court, play with the infectious joy and energy that we always do.
So we'll be looking forward to that. And a lot of people, you were talking about Vegas just a minute ago. We were saying that Vegas does not believe in this year's Pacers without Tyrese Halliburton and the loss of Miles Turner.
I don't necessarily blame them because I have to see what this version of the Pacers looks like. I think that they will probably shock some people, but I do think that Halliburton is a big loss. And I think we've, as a fan base, in this city, the optimism is kind of, overshadowed just how good of a player he is. They lost an all-NBA player for the entire season. So if they're going to, backslide, a bit, I would not be surprised at all.
Probably committee at center, but Isaiah Jackson would probably be the quote-unquote starting center at this point in time. You still have the backcourt of Neesmith and Nembhard, and we're looking forward to seeing how that all plays out. But a lot of changing roles, Kevin Bowen, and we'll see how guys adapt to all that.
Yeah, again, I guess in pencil starting 5 would be Benedict Mathurin alongside Andrew Nembhard and Aaron Neesmith, like you said, Jeff, and then Siakam, and we'll see if Isaiah Jackson can firm up that starting job. Remember, when Pascal Siakam was traded here, he had a lot of praise for Miles Turner's presence alongside him. Isaiah Jackson is certainly not that type of center, so how will that impact Pascal? I think that's kind of an under the radar storyline here for this season. Does that lend to more Jay Huff because his skill set maybe is a little bit more, Timu version of Miles, if I can go there.
All right. Monday Night Football last night. We did have games. They were not actually exciting, Mark Dykton. You and I live for Monday Night Football sometimes, and both of us kind of nodded off in the middle of it.
It wasn't double the pleasure, double the fun.
No. The Dolphins did get their first win of the year. They beat the winless New York Jets 27-21, but at what cost? James Boyd, it looks like Tyreek Hill is lost for the season.
He is. They've announced it already. It Multiple ligaments torn.
That's just devastating for anybody to have to go through. And at the age of 31, being a speedster, what does that mean for him, do you think, James?
I don't know, honestly, and that's probably the scary part. He's done for this season, could be done for next season, depending on how long the rehab process is, but just a gruesome injury and one that you instantly feel for the player and what that could mean for his career and also his life. I mean, the legs aren't supposed to look like that, so prayers up for Tyreek Hill for sure.
All right, the Denver Broncos won the nightcap over the Cincinnati Bengals 28-3. Kevin, you and I were talking about that during the break. Even I fell asleep in the first quarter of this one, but apparently Broncos just rolled last night. Bo Nix had over 300 yards passing, a couple of touchdowns. J.K. Dobbins ran for 101 yards. Are the Bengals really just that bad at this point in time?
Does this help the Colts' strength of schedule?
Probably.
Broncos winning.
Oh, they
Dolphins
win against.
winning.
Yeah, doesn't hurt. 1-4.
Does it matter as much?
Yeah.
Is the committee going to decide if the Colts get in or not?
Computer rankings helping out the Colts here. I believe I saw it was the biggest yardage discrepancy in the NFL all year, what the Broncos put up last night and what the Bengals did as well. So, yeah, Jamar Chase, Zach Taylor seem to have a spirited convo or two, and life with Jake Browning. Here you go.
Oh, boy,
there's also a million penalties in that game to make it just like slog through.
A million penalties.
Troy Aikman and Joe Buck, this game stinks.
All right. The Las Vegas Raiders come to town to take on the Indianapolis Colts on Sunday afternoon. It's a traditional 1 o'clock kick over at Lucas Oil Stadium. Remember, this is the first week for buys. Everybody who plays fantasy football on bye this weekend. The Falcons, the Bears are on a bye this week, Mark, so you can sleep all day long Sunday if you want to, I suppose, till the Colts game starts. I don't know.
Maybe. We'll see.
I was going to say, is that how life works when you have three daughters?
Usually means I'm up before dawn.
It means he's getting somebody off the top rope with from the turnbuckles at about 6:45 a.m. on a Sunday, right, Mark?
Usually.
Green Bay Packers and Pittsburgh Steelers also off on a bye this weekend. And Major League Baseball's playoffs start, as Kevin was alluding to about 15 minutes ago, 1 o'clock. The Tigers and Guardians get going at 3. The Padres and Cubs kind of sleptwalked over the last week and a half once they clinched the wild card. How you feeling about this game, big guy?
We'll have to see. Cade Horton, who is probably going to be the NL Rookie of the Year for the Cubs, probably not. Well, he isn't going to pitch until if they make it to the division series. So that stinks because he probably would have been your game 1 or at the very least game 2 starter. So Onus goes on the pitching staff without Cade Horton. And can those bats wake up, and will Kyle Tucker be in the lineup is the big question.
Red Sox take on the Yankees at 6 o'clock. The Reds going up against the Dodgers at 9. And Kevin Bowen, how about this for a pitching matchup? You got Hunter Green and Blake Snell for the Dodgers going.
And again, Hunter Green, some big-time moments for the Redlegs in the month of September. This is what you've been waiting, dreaming for, frankly. It's been years and years and years since the Reds have won a series, and we saw this with the Fever. I mean, these best of 3, all it takes is just one unbelievable game 1 effort, and you can flip this series right upside down. So all 4 series today, and like you guys alluded to, a couple afternoon series, and if you are a Reds fan or a Fever fan tonight, you got to brew the coffee, folks, because it is going to be a late one. We are not used to late Tuesday night sporting events in this city very often. Fever, Reds, both post 9 o'clock tonight.
Take it, Nat.
Yeah. 2 TV night, exactly, Mark.
2 TV night.
I missed the West Coast already. It was so weird having games ended like everything's over by like 8:45.
You should have just flown straight to Vegas and gone to Game 5.
Right. I know. You know what's crazy? I saw Dominic Miranda, our own WTHR.
Like Andrew Chernoff did the same thing?
Yeah, he did. He was at the game. He flew straight there. But I saw Dominic on my way back when I landed in at Indianapolis International Airport.
If anybody's going to be up early in the morning, it'll be Dominic with a bunch of energy, right? That's what he does, man. Does that guy sleep? I don't think he sleeps at Channel 13.
Great guy.
College football coming up this weekend. Purdue back on the field after a bye last week. They have a noon kickoff Saturday at Ross-Ade. They'll be taking on who, James Boyd?
Is it the Fighting James Boyds?
It's the Fighting James Boyds, or also known as the Fighting Illini. That'll be the 22nd ranked team in the country, trying to claw their way back from that. They've had a couple of tough games, but they're surviving. They're doing well. They're coming back.
Yeah, if you want to call it that. As I said, I was done after the Indiana game, but shout out to them for beating USC last week.
Notre Dame be hosting Boise State at 3:30 after rolling over Arkansas. You got to feel fairly comfortable about this game, I would think.
That's a playoff team, right? Last year?
They're not ranked this year.
Well,
they lost a bunch of guys.
It's still a playoff team.
All right.
You got to win 8 more.
And the
2 down, 8 to go.
The Fighting JMVs, Indiana State, play Southern Illinois this week. Anybody else want to throw anything in before we head off to discussions about the WNBA, Pacers coming back, and the Colts on Sunday?
I think you covered it wonderfully right there.
All right, coming up in a moment, we will talk a little bit more about what did happen and what was said at Colts camp yesterday as they get ready to go to the take on the Raiders at Lucas Oil and come off that loss against the Rams. It all comes your way next. 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Happy Tuesday. If you're just getting in the car, waking up, getting the coffee going, thanks for joining us. Turn us on however you may do that. Little tip, though, if you're having trouble with the signal on 93.5 or 107.5 The Fan, go to 93.1. If you have an HD radio, just flip it over to HD2. It's a really powerful signal and might help you out. You can always listen to us online. Any smart speaker, say play 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. Usually just say 107.5 The Fan. It'll play. And you can get us on the app. Just download that on your phone or your computer. You can always dial us up at 1075thefan.com, where you can also read Kevin Bowen's latest on the Indianapolis Colts all the time. And I know Kevin yesterday, the day after, Shane Steichen had some things to say, a lot of the same questions from the postgame, I would imagine. But did we learn anything from Coach Steichen at the press conference yesterday?
Well, I talked a whole lot yesterday about the Colts and the Rams. James Boyd, we talked with you briefly, so I might flip the tables over to you just overall, whether it's A.D. Mitchell in the postgame locker room. I know we touched a little bit on that with you. And just 24 hours later, what did you make of everything that transpired with him in the game itself, and how you view the Colts, I guess, standing with AD, for lack of a better term, here moving forward?
I would definitely say it was a somber locker room, which it always is after a loss, but this was different because it's like when you're growing up, those listening, you have siblings, and you know your sibling's in trouble, and you can't laugh, or obviously you can't do anything, or it's just an awkward situation because this is coming. That's what it felt like for A.D. Mitchell. When we walked to the locker room, it's like we weren't going to any of the locker. We were already coordinating with Colts PR, like, hey, where is he? Because he knows he has to talk. And if he ducks out of here, that'll make it worse. It'll make it a 3-day story instead of a, game story. So he was waiting for us, hoodie on, pulled the hoodie off, got up, and faced the music. But you could tell everyone's thinking the same thing. It's like, man, we lost this game largely because of our own mistakes, but that mistake, you gave away points. Like the holding call is one thing. The penalties on Bernard Ryman, I thought him getting beat a lot was something that can't be overlooked. Xavier Howard looking like he can't play in the NFL anymore. Like those things were certainly factors, but to give points away in that fashion was very damning. And also the most damning part I thought for A.D. Mitchell was the fact that he told us, yeah, Shane had a slogan for this, letters and logos. I asked him to explain it. Yeah, that means to run through the letters and the logos in the end zone, and you still didn't do it. And so when you followed up with Shane yesterday during our Zoom call, and you asked, hey, he'll be active for week 5, and Shane was kind of like, well, you got to practice and earn it. I thought that was, very interesting to me, because that was not a confirmation that he will be available. And honestly, if the Colts for a second are thinking maybe we got to sit this guy down, I would not blame them, because, again, they went over this and they emphasized this, and you still didn't listen. I think that's a theme that's kind of happened throughout A.D. Mitchell's career where, I had this debate online yesterday with some people. They were like, hey, well, they didn't bench JT when he did it. Players who've earned grace get it.
Yeah, that ain't
those a little different. Yeah.
Those who don't get it. JT has earned grace. He was already a first-team All-Pro, one of the best players up at that position, one of the best players in football before he made that mistake. But with A.D. Mitchell, that is who he is for his entire NFL career so far. All we know him for is the bad plays. And he's been, honestly, I would argue, he's been more a negative than a positive for the Colts through his first 2 years.
Yeah, I want to get back to that aspect in just a second, but let's go ahead and play that clip, Mark, from Shane Steichen yesterday. Shane was initially non-committal when asked about, hey, did you think about benching AD within the game itself, even just for a series or two? And then when asked specifically about AD playing on Sunday, dressing on Sunday, this was Steichen's answer.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to go through practice, and like I said, he's got to earn it going forward.
Quick. Simple. So what does that mean?
What do you think?
I don't think we're going to see him as much as we had hoped to see.
Will you see him with a jersey on?
You think they'll make him inactive?
That's what the question was. The question was, will he be active? Will he play on Sunday? And that's the answer that you get.
And
remember, A.D. Mitchell does not play special teams, unlike Ashton Dulin. A.D. Mitchell is playing when everyone's healthy, and we'll see about Alec Pierce, of course, and his availability
right
after missing a game. When everyone's healthy, A.D. Mitchell's playing about 12 snaps, 15 snaps a game. So is this Do you feel like you need further accountability? Shane said yesterday, A.D. Mitchell spoke in front of the team. A.D. Mitchell had a one-on-one with Shane Steichen. Is that enough in the accountability definition, or is there more coming from the Colts? And the Jonathan Taylor analogy you bring up from last year, James, my question would be this. Do you, unlike Taylor, do you classify Mitchell as a repeatable offender? Not necessarily in dropping the ball at the goal line, but in a lack of trust. Because I would argue in his rookie season, he defined lack of trust. That was finishing plays. That was timing and catching the football. He had the worst catch percentage of any receiver in the NFL with at least 50 targets last year. So last year, he lacked trust. Specifically on Sunday, you couldn't trust him to cross the goal line. And then where was his mental headspace at later in the game on a holding penalty that is the exact teach tape on what not to do from a fundamental aspect? So that's now the question for Shane Steichen. Do you feel like you need further accountability with a guy that in the trust category, I would argue is a repeatable offender? That would be my question.
I agree with everything you just said, and I understand the question, and I understand his short response, which kind of sounded to me like he wasn't really wanting to answer the whole thing.
You don't say with Shane Steichen.
But I also feel I don't know how they handle him. I don't know what that dynamic is within that building. Don't you think that in certain situations, especially when you're going with multiple wideouts on the field, that it just puts more stress on just the defense having to cover everybody? Because there's no question the guy's physically gifted.
Yeah, I think that's true, Jeff, and I certainly think that he is very talented. I think he's the most talented wide receiver they have on the roster as far as pure talent and physical ability goes. But at some point,
where do you draw the line?
Exactly. The potential that you see in him is a backhanded compliment if you cannot reach it because you are not focused enough to do so. And so I think that is a big issue for A.D. Mitchell so far throughout his career. And if they decided to sit him, it would be warranted. And I would feel zero sympathy because the mistake he made, again, the holding call, whatever, it's a bad play. And honestly, like Kevin said, just horrible fundamentals. I don't know what he's been trying to do there. Just a blatantly obvious hold. But to not cross the goal line after they made this a big point of emphasis that's almost unforgivable. And I know people are saying other mistakes were made, yes, but not that mistake. And so, again, if they want to sit him, I can see both sides of it. Like why you would want to play him, second round pick, young guy. He does offer you some, advantages, I would think, when it comes to defense having to account for him. However, when does the negatives outweigh whatever few positives you have brought to this team? I would argue, again, that A.D. Mitchell, through his first 2 years, has been a net negative over a net positive for the Colts. And I don't think that's a controversial statement at all.
Jeff just can't afford a game where A.D. Mitchell's on the bench, or else he's not getting to 80 catches.
I've waved goodbye to that boat.
But honestly, Kevin. No. Jokes aside, that's the sad part, though. That's the sad part. He had 3 catches for 96 yards on Sunday, career high. Big time performance, and it should have been 3 catches for 97 and a touchdown. But that's the A.D. Mitchell experience. And the last thing I'll say on this is if they do want to lean more towards a guy like Ashton Doolin, when have we ever questioned
he's steady.
His focus?
He's steady.
His willingness to block, his willingness to make the plays. Now, granted, he's a veteran, but we've never had to question his focus level on game days.
And I would really have little issue with sitting Mitchell for a week.
I'm not saying get rid of him for the rest of the season. No. If you want to teach a lesson, that's fine.
Like, you have guys inactive every week for lack of trust. It's just not as public as potentially this A.D. Mitchell situation would be. I mean, there are plenty of guys that you have not dressing on a game day because for whatever reason, either you trust others or you don't trust that player himself. So I would have no issue with that. Honestly, but where I sit at it from Sunday, the fact that he makes that play and it's an incredible catch that he makes. Like there's no denying that.
Spin move after? My
goodness. I mean everything about that play pre-goal line is pretty rare. That happened 11 minutes ago in the third quarter, 10 minutes ago in the third quarter. The next time he shows up in the box score is with 2 minutes ago in the game on the holding penalty. Like that's the next. I mean, Jonathan Taylor responded with 200 rushing yards from the Denver play on the goal line. And who knows, maybe A.D. Mitchell will have 200 yards coming up on Sunday. But within the game itself, that was A.D. Mitchell's response. And again, maybe you should have sent a message during the game. Maybe you should have said, hey, Shane Steichen said he had a conversation with him. Maybe he said, hey, you and Reggie Wayne, you two chat for 5 or 10 minutes. Doolin's going to take your reps for this series. Let's regroup, later on in the third quarter. Maybe you do that with them. You go over to him and say, all right, you good? We're taking a shot to you right here on the first play of this next series, just to kind of get him back in the game. I believe he only had one target the rest of the game. I think he caught a ball in that final drive before Pittman. You had the interception in the direction of Michael Pittman Jr. So I just think it's a storyline to watch this week. Clearly, Shane Steichen was not ready to commit to A.D. Mitchell dressing, and we'll see. And we should point out about Mitchell, by all accounts, he is a guy that shows great work ethic. Shows up early. It's in the building a ton, jugs machine, all the things you'd be looking for. This is not necessarily a whatever. If you want to say Anthony Richardson got benched for his Monday through Saturday prep, I don't think that concern is there with A.D. Mitchell. So it is worth pointing out, I think.
The other thing that I think is worth pointing out to build on your point, Kevin, like over on the sideline after that happened, several Colts players were trying to pump him up like, hey, man, we need you. Keep your head up. Keep your head in the game. They didn't just abandon him and let him sit over there by himself on the sideline, which we have seen teams do with players sometimes that do dumb things.
Yeah, but I thought what JT said after Sunday's game about being in that situation, knowing you gave points away, was very valid, because he was like, you're trying to receive the message from your teammates, but he was like, you're just trying to internalize what you just did and how you messed up the game. And so, yeah, they can come over to you and try to, pick you up and keep your head in it. But it is hard to overcome a gaffe like that, because it just doesn't happen very often unless you're the Colts, and it happens twice in 2 years.
Not sure if this analogy is perfect. I think it's a decent one. This from Wes. He goes, A.D. Mitchell's Anthony Richardson, Ashton Doolin's Daniel Jones. I get the positions are different, but Shane Steichen has shown he values consistency and reliability over upside.
That may be.
I would agree with that statement, honestly. And again, it comes down to reliability. We're trying to win games here. You are not helping us win, and that's the hard part. So, A.D. Mitchell, talented player. I think that he certainly has a bright future if he's able to focus more. But if they punish him for this, I wouldn't be surprised. And again, it's warranted.
Well, the other problem, besides just the touchdown, is the holding call. And Shane Steichen did address the A.D. Mitchell holding call also yesterday.
Yeah, it just occurred right there, probably 5 yards down the line of scrimmage. The corner for the Rams just kind of got inside, and A.D. got his hands on him and grabbed him, and he went to the ground, and they called the holding call, and obviously we can't do that in this situation. It just comes back to the fundamentals and the technique of blocking at that position.
So on top of the mental mistake there, just not being in position, not doing the thing, that was on Colts Roundtable last night here on the Fan, and you wonder if it's all just compounds, and maybe Shane is saying to just take, to your point, Kevin, just take a breather, just take a day off and think about it.
James, dumber play from Sunday, A.D. Mitchell at the goal line or 10 men on the field?
A.D. Mitchell at the goal line.
See, I have a problem with 10 men on the field, because how many guys missed? How many people everywhere missed that? From people in the booth to people on the sideline to the guys in the game.
I agree with you that it is an egregious mistake, but I think when you do all the work to get down to the inch-yard line and you still don't score, that is a dumber mistake.
Yeah, I think I'm with Jeff on this one. The amount of eyes on 10 men on the field. I mean, how many people are they employed up in that booth? And the fact that you miss that. I mean, that's A.D. Mitchell is a single human. The amount of people that go into getting 10 dudes on the field in an NFL game, not during a series. I mean, that was after a change of possession. I mean, it's not like it's a chaotic moment there. So I'll be curious what Lou Anarumo says on that. Yesterday, Shane fell on the sword significantly in blaming himself for it. It was brought up to me yesterday. I thought it was a great point a buddy of mine made. He goes, this is part of the reason why I think it's so beneficial that Carly Ursay-Gordon is on the headset. Because I would assume the immediate aftermath of finding out there were 10 people on the field that would have been quite the colorful language on the headset. And, Shane Steichen takes blame as head coach. I get where Shane's coming from, but also, this gets back to the whole Shane Steichen debate. There's so much on his plate on game day. And that was right after an offensive drive ended. Shane probably, and again, I don't have a camera on him, but there's probably some element of Shane Steichen is thinking about that offensive drive that just occurred. Thinking about, hey, if we get a stop here as a defense, what do I want to call on a potential game-winning drive with a minute to go and X amount of timeouts left? He's probably not sitting there going, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He's not counting to 11 on the sidelines there. So, this is something that, again, the whole Carly headset thing, I would find that beneficial in getting to the root of 10 men on the field.
Have you seen how many people are on the sidelines on game days? It's like a small village. And that many eyes missed that.
Yeah, you guys might be winning me over.
And Mark, you've been in NFL press boxes. James, you're in NFL press boxes. The herd of coaches that run through a press box at halftime or the end of a game to get to the elevator, how can they all fit into one press box?
Yeah, I'm always curious.
There's 12 of them.
I truly do want to ask.
They only count 11, though.
What the heck do you actually do here?
Yeah.
What is your job?
From Office Space. What would you say you do?
Legitimately think the amount of people you see on an NFL sideline during practice, or certainly during a game, Mark, or up in the booth, there has to be someone on that staff that sole job is you count to 11 every single play.
Travis, the intern, should be counting. Somebody's in there counting. They've got to be like, all right, you fill the water. You count how many people are on the field.
Didn't we have Jim Tressel, quality control, around here at one point in time,
yes,
Kevin?
He was. Yes, for Jim Caldwell. Would you want to be the counter? I think the counter would stress me out. You know how many times you would accidentally count wrong and freak out for that 7 seconds as you're recounting?
I know. I always you have to track people and they start moving. Wait, hold on. Did I count him already? Same with kids. You're like, wait, did I count you already? Stand still for a minute.
I mean, yeah, it's you all raise multiple points. And again, looking at the play.
They're both very stupid, James, to be fair. Let me be clear on that.
Oh, yeah.
There's no real winner here.
The amount of – and Alex points out, yes, you have captains on the field. I think Cam Bynum said to you guys, James, after the game, he thought something was odd. Pre-snap, he just didn't know exactly. And this is a little bit of the Lou Anarumo pre-snap confusion, because if you watch that play, the Colts have 6 or 7 dudes at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
It's not like you're counting a basic 4-3-4 shape. You're not. I mean, that's not how Lou operates.
Yeah, I had a chance to ask Zaire Franklin about the same gaffe at the end of the game. Why do you only have 10 defenders out there? You are one of the team captains. And he was saying, well, I was up, with the front and looking to blitz, and so I didn't see the backside. And he did say it was inexcusable, but he kind of gave us his perspective on the play. But overall, a very unacceptable mistake. And when you look at what happened on the play, yeah, Mekhi Blackman fell down, but if you were going to have an extra defensive back out there like you were supposed to, perhaps that play is only 40 yards or 50 yards, not a house call that costs you a game. So when you're asking which play is worse, both of them cost you a touchdown.
The A.D. Mitchell play is an individual play. The 10 men on the field is a team effort gaffe, and that's why I fault that one, because it fell on the entire team, the entire organizational failure of that play.
Wouldn't it have been something if Carly's the one that caught that? And
maybe she was the
told
counter.
somebody.
Do you think maybe she might have been like, oh, nope.
She's trying to call a timeout? Would NFL officials award her a timeout?
I don't think so.
They should.
Is your head coach only person allowed to call a timeout? Can a coordinator call a timeout or no?
I think the head coach has to do it.
It's got to be the head coach, or obviously a player.
Otherwise, everybody's just yelling at the referee all day long.
Yeah, that is a good point. Would you guys fall in more of the? You played the audio earlier. Would you fall more in the Tyrese Halliburton never watched Game 7 or any playoff game again, or would you fall in the Rick Carlisle? Watch it until the injury.
I think a lot of guys that I've known, interviewed, traveled with over the years, playoff losses, a lot of them bury it and never go back to it. And then there are some that obsess over it. So I think it's individual. I think I would want to break down every single moment and go, what went well, what went right, so that I can do more of the good stuff later on. But some guys just want to bury it.
James, didn't Shane Steichen rewatch the Super Bowl the morning of his press conference with the Colts to announce him as head coach?
He did, because I was asking him how hard it was to leave Philly.
Was that like a Sunday to Tuesday? I'm trying to think if I got my days straight. Sunday Super Bowl, Tuesday announcement? Wednesday announcement?
That sounds about right. Because I remember I was at church when that news broke. Had to tell Grandma I got to go to the car real quick and type this up. I had it pre-written. But
how'd that conversation go with Grandma?
It was cool. She knew. Oh, yeah, when I brought
Better
the laptop.
get your butt back in here and say some prayers after that thing is hit published.
Then you pay your tithes, right? So, I think that I would go back and watch it all the way up until the injury. Because that run was just too
that's
special.
what Carlisle said to us, right?
Yeah, and maybe it's different for every player. I certainly empathize with Tyrese, and perhaps he lived it, so he doesn't have to necessarily go back and rewatch it. But for us, I don't think I've ever skipped over those highlights since the end of the run. Like I'll see them on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or TikTok, and I'll find myself watching whenever they come across my timeline.
Yeah, I've known a lot of players that have told me after Super Bowl losses that they never wanted to watch that game ever again. It was just too painful.
Curious how tonight's game flow will be. Again, Game 5, winner moves on to the finals. Loser, offseason begins. Fever Aces, 9:30, the tip time. I get that it's not Game 7 of the NBA Finals, but I thought Game 7 of the NBA Finals, and certainly post-Halliburton injury, maybe pre-Halliburton injury, didn't feel this way, but that game turned into an absolute grind. That was like a Big Ten Tuesday night game. It was like first one to like 60, it felt like. Well, I mean, the Pacers, every time it seemed like Mathurin made a basket to cut it to like 9, you kind of were like, wait, is this going to happen? Is this like the Thunder could never really fully pull away? Is that what we're going to see tonight? Is it going to be a grind? Is it going to be a slog? I remember saying this in the clinching game of the Atlanta Dream series with the Fever, put game pressure on them. And James, you remember full well the end of that Dream game, there were some wild coaching decisions by Atlanta in the final minute or two.
Yeah.
Now, Becky Hammond's, I think, is in a different stratosphere.
Absolutely.
From a coaching standpoint, but still, they are going to feel the pressure. They didn't think this series would go 5, and they're going to be the favorite probably against the Mercury if they're able to advance.
Yeah.
It's not the Lynx with Nafisa Collier waiting there in the finals. So can Stephanie White's bunch, can we get to a fourth quarter late in those media timeouts, and Ryan Rucco is, having the octave in his voice raised a little bit, can you put that game pressure on them?
I think the first 6-8 minutes tonight are really important for the Fever. They cannot let Asia Wilson and the Aces get out to like an 18-6 advantage right out of the gate.
It will tell us a lot here in just over 12 hours. So I'm looking forward to that game. I will be wired for that one.
Yeah, I think the Fever did a really nice job when they've won these games. They've just kind of made better plays at better times, but they have trouble with this team, it seems, in this series of getting behind and having to dig themselves back out, James. That's been a problem.
Yeah, they can't dig themselves back out. Yeah. They go down by, 15, 16 points here early, it'll be over. So got to keep it close, and I expect a lot of people to be on edge for this game, and it's how you respond to that moment, that pressure, and that opportunity. But again, if you ask any team at the beginning of the year, hey, one game goes to the finals, you take that.
All right, coming up in just a minute, more on the Colts getting ready for the Raiders on Sunday afternoon over at Lucas Oil Stadium.
Give me a Chris Berman Raiders.
The Raiders!
Look at that.
Taking on the Indianapolis Colts.
You cut that, Mark? That was beautiful from Jeff Rickard.
We need to get one of those stumbling, bumbling. Remember those? Those are good stuff, man. I don't know if I can pull that one off. We'll try.
Something like that.
All right. It's all coming up next. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
There you go, James Boyd. That'll get your Tuesday off and running this morning.
Shout out to Lizzo and shout out to Mark Dykton for always teeing up the bangers.
You can get some Bad Bunny, Mark?
Yeah, I played some yesterday. I'll play more.
Is ready for the Super Bowl here? Where is the Super Bowl this year?
That's a good question. I know this.
Right?
Is it New Orleans again?
For some reason,
I
I
don't
thought
even
it was
remember.
San Francisco.
No, it's California.
Is it Santa Clara?
Is
Santa
Santa Clara.
California. Ooh, that must be that's nice. Perfect weather out there.
Yeah, they announced that yesterday? Bad Bunny, was that Sunday or yesterday?
Yeah, I forget
Sunday.
when it was.
So I guess
Sunday.
no Taylor Swift. Everybody was all excited that it was going to be Taylor Swift. They
And
thought
what
they were
was the
all
rumor,
kind
like,
of Easter eggs and stuff.
The NFL wouldn't meet her demands, whatever her demands are.
She wanted to have the ownership of the halftime show.
Yeah.
Got it.
Production.
I don't think
And they said no thanks.
I always think it's crazy that they don't get paid for that because of like the spike you get in music and all that stuff. But I'm just like, wow, working for free at that level of stardom is interesting to me.
And you're paying for like the whole state, like
I know.
whatever the production is. You're like, it's out of their pocket, which is just wild.
Allegedly, the trickle-down effect for some of those bands, even the big ones, like even when U2 did it or Prince or things like that, is wild, the kind of financial stuff that comes their way in the months and weeks after that. So
Even still, I'm like, NFL, pay up. What are you doing? You're a multi-billion-dollar company. Pay me a little bit.
The NFL, but I don't think they give anything to anybody, do they?
Well, that's the problem. Too bad.
I think they'll be okay, Mark.
No, you want Taylor Swift, you're not getting it.
It's the Fan Morning Show. James Boyd, Kevin Bowen, Mark Dykton right there, spinning the discs, as they used to say. At 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan, I'm Jeff Rickard, and, of course, Sunday afternoon. Here's the great part about sports, man. Unless it's the last game of the season and you have months to think about it, it just rolls on. That clock just keeps on turning, and the Raiders come to town on Sunday one way or the other, Kevin Bowen.
James, were you a fan of SoFi? I know a lot of people have hyped up the stadium.
I thought the stadium was very nice, but at the same time, I didn't think that it was. I mean, I've been to a couple of very nice ones at this point. I'll probably still put like Minnesota as my number one.
I always liked Minnesota's.
Yeah, I like the open air press box. This one was not open air, at least from the press box side of things, but very nice, great view. They have that huge Jumbotron in there. So if you do get tickets to that game and you're sitting way in the last row, it's really not a bad seat in the house because of that big scoreboard. So you're able to watch the game. Obviously, the climate and everything is really good and very nice. But, yeah, it's just complicated, like, getting in and getting out of that place. I'm used to my, I guess, Indianapolis roots because when we were exiting, me and Nate, shout out to Nate Atkins, and now covering the Rams for The Athletic, when we were leaving the stadium, it took us forever to figure out how to get out. And I'm like, dude, aren't you supposed to be showing me where to go? And he's like, well, it's only my second game here. But yeah, like there were certain ways if you go out, it was
you guys are pulling out the map of the campus.
No, seriously,
like, okay,
because the stadium is so big. And, if we leave, like, for example, we leave the Colts stadium, it's like you go down to street level and you're out. They're like, well, if you're on this side of the building, street level is actually the 5th level, and then you got to walk across a bridge and go down. But if you go to the other side of the building, it's level 6, and you got to go down and out. And it was gated all around, so we were like, "Do we just hop the fence?" Like it was bizarre. It was a lot. So I'm appreciative of things being simple here in Indy.
Now you're ready when you're back there in 2 weeks, right?
I am actually. I was thinking about that. I was like, at least I know where to go, how to get out, all
Colts
those things.
Chargers coming up in a few weeks.
Exactly.
We'll see if that game gets flexed.
I was the idiot who asked Nate if he'll be around that weekend. He was like, "Well, no, James, because if they're playing the Chargers at home, that means I'm on the road." And I was like, "My bad, brother. I'll see you next time."
They don't go doubleheader at 1 and 4.
Exactly.
That's the one thing, though, I love about Indianapolis, whether it's going to the field house, whether it's going to Lucas Oil Stadium. It's amazing. I live up on the north side, just north of town, right over the border in Carmel there, and it's just not an all-day thing to go to a game like it is in most NFL cities. For a 1 o'clock game, you can easily leave your home at 11 o'clock, 11:30 even, get into the game on time, and when you leave the game, you'll get home 5 o'clock or so. It's not an 8 a.m. in the morning until 8 p.m. at night extravaganza. I love that.
Well, you ain't getting that in the Super Bowl because that Levi Stadium, that's like having Lucas Oil in Martinsville or Franklin.
It's like an hour out of San Francisco, man.
It's like down down in San Jose is where
It's not that far from the San Jose airport.
How many
actually.
NFL teams are frauds? They don't actually play in the city that they claim.
Oh, there are a lot that definitely play.
Shout out to the Indianapolis Colts for being very truthful.
Far away from downtown. What do you make of Daniel Jones on Sunday, James?
So,
it's one of the rare games where, like, and we did this yesterday and we just did it again today. There's so many other things to talk about non-quarterback division, which is pretty rare in the NFL. But what did you make of Daniel Jones?
I thought that he had clearly his worst day of the season, the 2 turnovers. The last one, I'm like, you're just throwing it up, trying to make a play. It's into the game, you're pressing a bit. But the interception that he had targeting A.D. Mitchell, I thought he underthrew that ball. Could have put more on that. Now you have the people out there, and I'm not really in that camp of, A.D. Mitchell's got to fight for that and, knock the ball down. It's like, throw a better football for the guy who beat his man. So I thought Daniel looked more like what we would have expected a good Colts team to look like. And by that, I mean, make a couple mistakes, give you a chance to still win the game. Because granted, he should have had a touchdown pass to A.D. Mitchell, who made an incredible play up until that gaffe at the end. But to me, I thought that was the more what we were expecting from Daniel Jones. And granted, he also faced a lot of pressure, unlike through the first couple of weeks of the season. And I thought he could have been better. But the crazy part is he was still great against the blitz. Like, I was looking at his blitz numbers. We all have these advanced stats. He was good, really good against the blitz. But again, when you're getting that amount of pressure and we turn the ball over, it's not going to, bode well for you.
Well, Kevin and I had talked about this quite a bit yesterday. I thought it was a real mixed bag, as you've been pointing out. There are still times with his feet, he does things to get out of a messy pocket that I know Anthony Richards can do. We've seen other people do that. But he gets his shoulders square and makes a nice throw afterwards, and he's able, while he's scrambling out of that messy pocket, to get himself set to throw a decent football. And I like that about him. Like that a lot about him, James. I saw that a couple of times.
Yeah, no. I certainly, and again, and credit to a few of the people who were saying, hey, you still can't, just throw it up for grabs on that second pick. Yes, I would agree there. Maybe I'm being a little too soft on him, but I just think that first interception was kind of what we were expecting to see from Daniel Jones a little bit. I thought a couple of throws, Kevin, he didn't put enough on it, and it makes you question, okay, is this why you don't push it down the field as much with him?
Yeah, the last pick I said yesterday, I thought it was a hair early for hero ball. Like, that to me was a hero ball throw. I get at some point in that final drive, you might need to throw the hero ball, but I thought with 3 timeouts, a first down, a minute to go, Jonathan Taylor I thought was open on a check down. You easily could have taken a timeout. I thought, again, just a hair early for the hero ball. I thought in general, James, it was the most under duress the offense has been all year long. And I say that from a pass rush standpoint. I thought one of the disappointing aspects of Sunday was the Rams' ability to create pressure with 4. Like, they didn't even need to blitz. I know you point out some of the blitz stats. They didn't have to blitz all that often to get pressure. And then I just thought in general it was the most contested windows. But you know what? If that is the worst Daniel Jones game, like if you would have showed me the first 4 games of the year, show me the Rams film of Daniel Jones and said, this is the worst Daniel Jones is going to play through the first month of the season, I would have said, holy my. Let me quote Matt Taylor here. I mean, that's a great first month of the season for Daniel Jones. And that's how I sit here today on this Tuesday. And I think as we get further removed from Sunday and the sting of it, I get the A.D. Mitchell storyline. We probably should get to Xavier Howard here in a little bit as well. What do you do with him? But as you start to exit the aftermath of Sunday, you're a 3-1 football team. You went toe-to-toe with, I think, one of the better teams in the league, and you're sitting here with a golden opportunity to get to 5-1 with home games against the Raiders and Cardinals the next 2 weeks.
Holy my.
You ask, you receive.
How did you find that so quickly? Did
I have
you
it readily,
AI that?
I have readily available.
Is that real? Was that Matt
That's
Taylor?
real, yeah. Uh-huh. So is this one.
Get out.
Yep.
Matt Taylor probably has some great clips.
Go to the fan text line right now, 239-1070, while we're talking about that game, Rams and Colts. Mark says, you've brought up the Rams drive before the half. Steichen and Colts with bad play calling and execution before the half by not running, using the clock, and leaving the Rams all that time to score from 94 yards out. That happened a ton last year, lost so much momentum going into the half. One of the things that gets lost in the A.D. Mitchell stuff and in the 10 men on the field and all the penalties, that last 2 minutes of the first half all the way around was not good.
96 yards, not
96,
to rub it a little bit further there. But, I don't know if I can go with the Colts should have been milking more clock. Frankly, I just think you should defend 96 yards of turf better than they did.
Yeah, I think you probably feel pretty good about pinning him back at that point in time.
Oh, my gosh. When Sanchez had that punt, I mean, that was wizardry by him. And then, and the Rams, if I remember correctly, I think they ran it on one of those first couple plays. I think they were still in like the let's see what we can do here. Like, it's not like they came out throwing it right away. And then I think Nakua had, well, I'm sure he had some big play on that drive. And I think Devontae Adams had a couple moments too, even before the touchdown there. So, yeah, Lou Anarumo will speak to the media later today. Be very curious his answers. Not only Puka Nakua related, 10 men related, but if he's ready to put the relationship with Xavier Howard to the side.
Well, they've got another chance to turn the page again, as I mentioned a moment ago. Raiders coming up on Sunday, and you would think the way the Raiders seem discombobulated, new coaching staff, I don't know what the talent situation is up and down the roster, doesn't seem very deep, but they are struggling mightily right now.
Yeah, I mean, my dad's a Raiders fan, so I get Raiders updates weekly, and Mark, you will enjoy this. When I called him to talk about what happened against the Bears,
himself,
he was heartbroken. He was like, and then he does this every year, and I mean this every year as a Raiders fan. I'm like, dude, I tell you, you're not going to be good. And he's like, you don't know what you're talking about. It's a new year. A month into it, he's like, James, we ain't going to be good this year. And I'm like, I told you this already. So jokes aside, I do think that this Raiders team with Geno Smith, I think Geno is kind of due to have a better game than he's had throughout the first month of the season. So that, it doesn't scare me, but it's something to keep, your ears up for. It's like, hey, a guy that talented. Granted, I wouldn't put him in like, he's a top 10 quarterback, but I think that he's had moments where he can be very good. Is that moment coming Sunday? How alert do you have to be for that? And to Kevin's point, if Xavier Howard is out there, is that your get right game because you just target whoever he's covering? So I am very curious to see what Lou Anarumo has to say and also what the Colts do, because I think I've gotten to the point, Kevin, where with Xavier Howard, it can't get any worse if you play someone else. Like, I mean, just play the undrafted rookie at this point because Xavier Howard looks so poor out there, honestly. And talking to him after the game, he was not interested in talking to us, which I understand, but he did face the music a little bit. And I was asking him, hey, did you think that they were picking on you in coverage? And he was like, didn't really answer that question. Oh, the ball's in the air, just got to make a play. And I said, well, how would you assess your performance yourself? And I think I got maybe a 4-word answer. He said, not to my ability. And I was thinking, maybe that's past ability because, granted, his resume is great, but who he is now, that player, I think, is gone.
Two things for Howard that sticks out to me right now, James. Yesterday I referenced hearing the Colts talk about Howard is reminiscent of Frank Reich talking about Adam Vinatieri during the 46-year-old
and held on too long with Vinatieri.
And kept on referring to the past history. And it's like, look, at some point we can celebrate the past history, but you can't let that mirror what's happening right here in the present. And 32-year-old corners, it can go in a hurry here. Now, with Howard specifically, two things that are really bothering me right now. It's obvious to watch the catches against him.
Yeah.
One, I see some effort.
Yes.
That
I'm glad you have pointed this out.
Real bothersome.
Yes.
If I was Chris Hewitt, Jerome Henderson, his position coaches. Like, I'm talking the catch is made, and he's
not even trying to go make the tackle.
Nonchalant, waiting for the whistle
there were a couple of plays
to blow.
like that.
So that would be bothersome for me. And then two, it's this. Life of an NFL corner oftentimes is, hey, amnesia. You're gonna get burnt, but you're also gonna have some good plays in there. If you look at it right now, I believe I looked it up yesterday. Xavier Howard has played 211 defensive snaps this season. That's a big number. I think it's 4th on the Colts so far. He doesn't have a single pass broken up. So it's not like there's any good in there. There's not like remember in that game when he had the interception or, he had that really good couple of pass breakups here or there. And yeah, you're going to get burnt. It's life in the NFL as a corner. You're not seeing any of that. I mean, Jonathan Edwards, the undrafted corner, that dude got on the field for 4 snaps on Sunday? He broke up a pass. We're talking an undrafted rookie here. So those two things, yes, you can look at Howard and the amount of catches he's given up so far. That should be enough. But his effort post-catch, and then also, where are the good plays? Like, there's not even
the fumble recovery in week 1. That's about it.
But that's just being in the right place at the right time.
I mean, but I was saying that to kind of highlight that is literally the only positive play I can think of so far.
There's nothing in coverage that I've seen from him. So, again, Lou Anarumo going to talk today. We'll see how he goes. And, when Shane Steichen speaks yesterday, and we can play that audio here in a little bit, he is a talented player. Well, it's like, not to get into tenses here, but is or was? He's been talented, okay? Ben. Is he still talented? Because that's a real question with the 32-year-old corner when he didn't play football last year. So far through 4 weeks, I ain't seen it.
Not passing the test so far. Mark, people are doubting your abilities. Nick says nobody's spun discs in this studio since Jim Harbaugh took the Colts to the playoffs.
I mean, that's true. There's no CD player here. There's nothing like that. There's no jukebox. Just YouTube, basically.
It's modern day spinning the disc. You got
YouTube
how many
and
computer
Spotify.
Screens you got in front of you? 4 that I can see.
1, 2, 3, 5.
If you
6.
ask your children,
The radiation I'm absorbing every day is insane.
Well, apparently it hasn't affected your ability to, grow the family.
No. If anything, I've reversed science.
Wow. Okay.
I didn't have Jeff going there on the bingo card
I'll save
today.
my question for later then.
Mark, your level of belief in your Cubs with October coming tomorrow.
It would be higher if Cade Horton was playing. This Cubs team has been up and down, to say the least, when it comes to offense. So hopefully Kyle Tucker is back in the lineup. I think I like this matchup against the Padres, but the Padres are no slouches. They are pretty talented. So I was going to be bold and say I still think the Cubs will go farther than the Brewers in the playoffs. That was my hot take heading into the postseason. I'm sure Joel A. Erickson is spitting out his coffee this morning.
If Cubs win, they get the Brewers, right?
They get the Brewers. So that would be highly intriguing to me.
Reds-Dodgers winner gets the Phillies, I think.
Yep.
If I have my bracket right.
What about you guys with the Reds? The bandwagon jumpers.
Well, am I allowed to cheer for the Reds, by the way? Jeff?
Ask permission to Jeff.
I'll
I
clear
don't know.
this with my dad. Jeff?
I give you a pass, as I've said, because I think you have suffered long and hard, and you didn't want to get your Reds' heart broken again.
Thank you.
I think deep down you really wanted the Reds to succeed, but you were afraid that if you built yourself up too much, you would just get pain and suffering and misery all over again.
Gosh, that is so mature by you.
God, I would kick his ass out,
I was
Jeff.
about to
I'd
say,
be like,
man,
get
that
out of
dude
here.
soft as cotton. Nah, bro, you out.
No.
I love
Nah,
you,
you
Jeff.
out. You
I
said
have
he was
been
dead.
there.
Stay dead over there by yourself then, because I'm alive and
I
thriving.
have been there.
Jeff, I love you, brother.
Man, Jeff, you...
No. If the shoe was on the other foot, I'm like, Kevin, get out. Take that Ellie Dela Cruz shirt off. You already take your clothes off enough in this studio. Take that one off and burn
you
it.
weren't
Wait,
snipping before.
Let's
Now
talk-
you want to love up on me.
Let's talk about Cubs fans who get on and off the bandwagon 4 times a game through
That's
the
not
course
me.
of the
That's your
season.
algorithm. You need to get new friends on Twitter. That's not me.
I mean, hell, we could splice
I've
together
seen it.
Mark's
That's also
roller coaster
dedication,
as a
Holmes.
I've
Bears
seen it.
fan here in the month of
We're not
I've
September.
jumping
seen-
ship 6 weeks before the season ends.
I've seen Cubs fans on July 14th in the 3rd inning go, I'm done with this team forever. They rally for 5 runs and they go, that's why I love this team. Right there.
Thank you, Jeff.
Have you seen Wrigley Field? It's usually packed this time of year, even if they stink. Have you
And
seen
half
Great
of them
American
aren't paying
Ballpark
attention to
Emily?
the ball game.
You know what? Nah, I'm not letting you off the hook there with that Tito's hat on.
He's the boss, and I could not agree more with him right now. Mark, to answer your question, if we could get back to
Yeah, can I see those hands under the table, Kevin? What are you doing under there?
Wow.
If we get back to
Well,
it,
you're-
dear
Whoa.
Lord, this is not Ellie De La Cruz
what was that?
bobblehead day here.
You guys are getting
Just
on
saying,
me.
the way you're complimenting Jeff there. My God, what else are you doing?
Anyways, in a 3-game
Talk
series
about deflection tactic
with
right there.
Hunter Green in game 1 and the pitching staff the Reds have, I do, again, 3-game series, man. Mark, you were celebrating a 2-game series win earlier this year like it was the, a parade down Waveland.
Well, if you play a 2-game series and you win both games, if there's no third game played, didn't you sweep that series?
Like if Hunter
a
Green
mini
goes out
sweep.
tonight and he gives you 8 innings and 1, I mean, how can the Reds score 2 runs? That's probably the bigger
That's
question.
the question.
But if he gives you a gem, I mean, now all of a sudden you've put all the pressure on the biggest payroll in baseball.
Yep.
And again, the Dodgers, I mean, from a payroll standpoint, they're going to feel more of that pressure. Granted, the Reds haven't won a series in, 30 years?
The Dodgers bullpen is a mess, though. They're averaging like a 6 ERA
Right,
at the
but
moment.
the thing with the 3-game series, Mark, is you can then take your start, you can take a starter or two and throw them in the pen. Like, I think Ohtani, I assume, would be penciled in for game 3 with them.
Mm-hmm.
But if you really wanted to get funky with it, you could put several starters in the pen and then play that game. So when the MLB expanded the playoffs, part of me thought, oh boy, is this a little participation trophy? And then when it benefits your team, you're like, here we go.
Yeah.
The Mets are deader than the Reds. That's what I misspoke on a month ago.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They're going to be
crawling back.
They're going to be giant killers. They already knocked off the $340 million Mets.
Thank you, Jeff.
They're crying about it on the back page of the New York Post. Scotty printed that out for me today. $340 million Mets left red-faced as last lost Caps collapse puts Cincy in playoffs. They're gonna knock off the giant Dodgers too.
Yeah, you hear that, Mark? I never doubted Jeff's Reds fandom.
Go.
Die-hard Reds fan Jeff Rickard.
Good Lord.
Go.
He can name maybe every guy on the wild card roster.
I'm sitting next to two frauds.
This
is not good.
I can name you the basic starting lineup. I don't know if I can go 40-man roster on you.
Should we check it down?
Yeah, we should before we do a Reds roster check.
The Morning Checkdown on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
This Reds checkdown brought to you by Tyler Stevenson and Cabrian Hayes. How about that? Catcher in third. Is that good enough for you, Mark?
Well, that's 2 out of 40.
Ellie
that,
De La
Mark?
Cruz,
You hear
Matt
that?
McCain,
Yeah,
Okay.
Start counting them, Mark.
Okay, that's
Can
3,
you
4.
count to 11 unlike the Colts?
Green,
I can.
Abbott, Littell,
I need
Lodolo,
first names, too.
Pagan.
Yeah, we need first names.
Zach.
First names.
Okay. Zach,
names.
We're still at 4.
Zach Littell,
Okay.
Nick Lodolo,
Okay.
Hunter Green,
Okay.
These are all written
Tyler
down on
Stevens,
this piece of paper
Cabrian
right
Hayes,
here.
Austin Hayes.
You named
Andrew
2 of them
Abbott.
twice already.
Andrew Abbott.
That's the third time.
I don't know. I'm just giving you
Credit where
names off
credit is
top
due.
here. I gave you
Oh.
9 or 10 names right there. My goodness
Got
gracious.
a quarter of the roster
The
between the
Reds
two of you.
play tonight at 9 against the
Call
Los
him Rosie
Angeles
Red.
Dodgers.
Call him Marge Shot over here.
That's
how
right.
much Reds knowledge he's got.
They will play their first best-of-3 game against the Dodgers. Tonight, your Cubs, which I was going to lead with, Mark, until it turned into a inquisition over here, will be hosting the San Diego Padres at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Can you give us a rundown on that game?
Again, Cubs are out without Cade Horton, who's probably going to be NL Rookie of the Year. That stinks. He's not going to be ready unless they get to the divisional round. So that's disappointing, but hopefully you're getting Kyle Tucker back in the lineup, which he's been sidelined for a little bit. That'd be a nice boom for the offense. But the Padres are a tough team. Got a high payroll. They got a good pitching staff. I don't know exactly how I feel. Talk to me after game 1 tonight.
Do you like day playoff baseball?
I do. At Wrigley, yes. Yes, I do.
Do you think if you had a real job, you would?
Probably not. But I don't have a real job, so when I get home and the girls are at school,
Who cares about everybody else out there?
Count the blessings there, Mark.
when I get home, the girls will be at school. I'll be plopped in front of my television
Man.
watching
Yeah,
some baseball.
You did set him up to basically be like an elitist person here on the airwaves.
Yeah.
He's not being very nice to you today, Mark. I will admit that.
That's okay. I expect a Marty Brenneman-like apology tomorrow.
There's a drive by Nick Castellanos.
Oh, boy.
Not Marty, but there you go.
Tom.
Tom.
T-H-O-M.
Yeah. He's back doing some stuff now. I think, too.
Let's move on.
Yeah.
What else do we got?
We got more playoffs tonight, the WNBA style. It'll be Game 5 of the Las Vegas Aces hosting the Indiana Fever. 9:30 tip, 9:15 airtime with Eddie Garrison on 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. What's the key? How did the Fever pull this off, James Boyd?
They scored more points than the other team. But other than that, I think, in all seriousness, Kelsey Mitchell has to have a big game. I think every time she's been off in this series, they've been losing. And so you expect her to see a lot of different defenses. And can you counter that by just making some incredible shots? And I thought that's what happened in Game 4. And then on top of that, what do the others do? Again, Aaliyah Boston, Kelsey Mitchell, been great. Can you get Odyssey Sims to have another big game? She had 18 points last game. Lexi Hull, we know what she does defensively and the effort she gives. Can she give you a couple of 3 balls? Just things like that to keep you, the Aces honest. And I think, again, if it gets down to the wire, you like your chances.
James, I've called Odyssey Sims, Lance Stevenson. You pointed it
I know.
out very well in Game 4. It was good, Lance. It was good, Odyssey. What's tonight? I think that's a huge storyline, too, for this game.
All right, doubleheader Monday Night Football last night. The Dolphins defeated the Jets at home 27-21, but it looks like they've lost, they have lost Tyreek Hill for the rest of the season. Mark, you said it was confirmed that there were multiple ligament tears, right?
Dislocated knee, multiple ligament tears, including his ACL. So there's no even guarantee that he is going to be ready for the 2026 season, and he's undergoing surgery today.
Man, I hate when I see that. Broncos won the nightcap over the Bengals 28-3. Man, that offense was working. Bo Nix, 326 yards, 2 touchdowns. Also ran for a touchdown. J.K. Dobbins, 16 carries, 101 yards, and everything was coming up roses for Sean Payton's team last night. Looking forward to college football this weekend, of course. I'm really interested to see this Illinois team at Purdue, to see how far Purdue has come. I know Illinois is going to be a pretty big favorite, but can they hang in this game, Kevin Bone?
You'd hope, coming out of a bye week. Yeah, what are they, 10-point underdog? I think I saw there. So, Barry Adams spoke yesterday. They have to run the football better. But, Ryan Brown's had some moments, and, you certainly were competitive with Notre Dame for a half until it really changed. USC obviously had the red zone turnover. So, yeah, I do think it's an important week for Purdue and trying to not only have the, moral victory, but how about trying to pull off an upset?
Kevin, I want to ask you about this too. Tom Watson apologizing to the Europeans for rude U.S. fans at Bethpage Black this past weekend. Were lines clearly crossed here with fandom?
I'm missing the Tom Watson. What does Tom Watson have anything to do with
former Ryder Cup captain, former.
Respect your elders.
Yeah, he was an awful captain. Let's be clear on Tom Watson's history in the Ryder Cup. I think based off some of the footage you see, they did probably cross the line, and the Europeans are better than us at golf. They're better than us at chanting. They're better than us at singing. That was abundantly clear in watching the Ryder Cup and watching them celebrate. I was so jealous of their party. It looked awesome. And shout out to Rory McIlroy, because 2 years ago he called it that they would come to Bethpage and win, and what did they do? They came to Bethpage and won.
They did. All right, Mark Dyson coming up in a moment. I believe we will talk more Fever with the one and only Pat Boylan. Is that correct?
8:40, yeah.
8:40. Mm-hmm. That's just about 13 minutes away. Right here on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Pat Boylan, coming up in a few minutes. He's done just a ton of the Fever games on television this past year. He will join us as the Fever get ready to play the Aces later on tonight, Game 5 of their best-of-5 semifinal series. That'll be heard right here on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan, so we're looking forward to seeing what Pat has to say about that. And getting back to the Colts yesterday and just your initial thoughts 24 hours after the whole fact of the way things went down in Los Angeles. What was your read on a guy who doesn't give much away, Shane Steichen, who tries to keep everything close to the vest?
Yeah, there are times when I feel like, James, I don't know if you feel this way, when Shane Steichen answers questions and it sounds like me answering to my mom when she asked me how prom was back in the day. Hey, Kevin, how was prom? Oh, how was that part? And then I'm kind of like, oh, yeah, it was fine. It was good. I'll be up in my room. I'm just trying to give absolutely zero details.
You didn't share all the details?
Whatsoever there. So, Mom, I apologize. And now
Mom, I had a great time.
now I'm feeling it from Shane Steichen. Here I am at the age of 36. I think James, I get the vibe. Shane Steichen is pretty darn confident in his football team. And they're 3-1. And I think overall, you have to be very, very pleased with where you are at schedule-wise. There's an opportunity record to certainly build on it. I do think there are some questions. We'll probably get to Xavier Howard a little bit in the 9 o'clock hour. You must address. But I think all in all, Shane Steichen really likes his bunch. And I get why. There are a lot of things that you do that you should feel good about with this Colts team through 4 weeks.
Absolutely. You gave away a touchdown, and you probably still should have won that game against what many to believe a Super Bowl contender is in the Los Angeles Rams. So there was a bit of a silver lining there. It's just hard to feel it after a loss like that, and in which there were so many self-inflicted wounds. And I know we say that as a cliche, but boy, when you have 11 penalties for 88 yards and you drop a touchdown that should have been a score because you were showboating A.D. Mitchell, when you have the holding call that, negates the JT crazy run at the end of the game. You have 2 interceptions from Daniel Jones, all those things, and you still were in the game. I think you look at that and say, hey, if we just, clean these couple of things up, we are able to go out there and compete with anybody.
I think the big question moving forward, though, they got a little bit more pass rush this past week against the Rams.
Yeah, I thought that was one of the more encouraging elements.
Yeah.
Maybe
that's what they got to do.
Encouraging element to Sunday was how that pass rush dialed up. 3 sacks, 9 hits on Stafford. And the Rams, I know they were missing their left guard, but it's not like they were banged up across the board there. So I do think that's something you can definitely build on.
All right, so we'll get back to that coming up in a few minutes. But as I mentioned, the Fever going for it all tonight. Game 5 to get into the WNBA Finals. They'll be on the road in Las Vegas. We'll be joined by Pat Boylan next on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Nothing in love. I'm going to start all over again, Mark. I just kind of spit that up right there. I was going to say nothing we love more in sports than an all-important deciding game.
Bringing the ball up tonight, right?
That's what that was. That's never, ever happened to our next guest, though. Ever.
Oh.
Because he is gold. There's no question about that. But I was saying we love nothing more than an all-important deciding game in a playoff, and we get that tonight when the Las Vegas Aces stand in the way of the Indiana Fever trying to get to the WNBA Finals. We bring in our next guest now on the Payless Liquors hotline, Pat Boylan. Pat, I'll turn it over to your smooth, dulcet tones to save me this morning and tell us all about the Fever's chance tonight in Game 5. And good morning, by the way.
Good morning, everyone. And Kevin, I hope you appreciate that I'm here at 8:40. This is a real early one for me. So
Noted. I almost called you on my way in this morning.
You know what? I'm standing here at Gainbridge Fieldhouse for your visual. I've actually been here since 6 o'clock doing morning hits. So this is like for the news station. So this is like number 11 for me. I'm warmed up. So let's go. Yeah, obviously the game out in Vegas tonight, massive one, chance to go to the WNBA Finals. There's some interesting potential history repeating itself here because 10 years ago, almost to the day, the head coach of the Indiana Fever was Stephanie White, and they were the 4 seed that year. Nobody expected them to make the WNBA Finals, but they got there. And, in fact, that team, a little bit like last year's Pacers, went all the way to the final game of the Finals. That was a 5-game series and nearly pulled off a historic upset to win a championship. So 10 years later here, will history repeat itself? The Stephanie White-led Indiana Fever are trying to go back against all odds to the WNBA Finals, and they'll do so with a win tonight out in Las Vegas.
Well, I commend you, Pat, for the early wake-up call. Now, how's the plan the rest of the day? Do we just go Joe after Joe after Joe in the cup the rest of the day, or are we napping it? I mean, 9:30 is no joke on a Tuesday night.
Yeah, we can't risk not being able to stay up for the game. So I think I've got a nap in me at some point. Have a couple of, Pacers, as you know, right around the corner. So I actually have a couple of Pacers meetings after this. But at some point, going to try to sneak that nap in because need to be alert for the big game here tonight.
Indeed, the first training camp practice for the Pacers coming up later today. Pat Boylan, of course, with us here on the Payless Liquors hotline. All right, Pat, the obvious is clear. In Game 4, you saw it. Aaliyah Boston, Kelsey Mitchell, they played like the all-stars that they are. If I removed them from the storylines for tonight, James brought up Odyssey Sims in Game 4. I kind of get Lance Stevenson vibes from her. Some really good. Some other nights, I'm like, oh boy. Where would you point to? Again, non-Mitchell, non-Boston for storylines tonight.
Yeah, I think Odyssey Sims and Lexi Hull are probably the next two players that jump out to me. The thing that just stood out the most to me was the Fever were in Game 4 of a WNBA semifinals with a chance to move one game away from getting to the finals, and Odyssey Sims is not just running point guard, but I mean, she's making plays. And another player that was out there, Brianna Turner, she's been on the roster all season, but she had a couple months stretch where she wasn't playing at all. And yet these two are on the floor. Imagine saying that at the beginning of the year. It would have been really hard to believe. It's just kind of a great example of the next woman up mentality and the resiliency that this team has shown. So those two players, Odyssey Sims and Lexi Hull, probably stand out the most to me. It seems like when Hull has a good game, the Fever almost always win. She's always impactful defensively. So what I'm referencing here is when she has a good offensive game, because that defense travels for her and is consistent night in and night out. And then the other maybe bigger picture thing that jumps out to me is just the Fever's ability to get into the paint. Asia Wilson is not just the MVP, but she's also the defensive player of the year. And if you look at this series so far, in Indiana's wins, 46 points per game in the paint. In their losses, 34 points per game in the paint. That's a significant difference. And not just because, scoring in around the rim is, of course, important in of itself, but also I think the ability to attack and get inside and get paint touches also sets up your three-point shooting, and that's really important as well. So I think you look at that points in the paint number at the end of today, and I think what that looks like might be indicative of the result and who ultimately comes away with the win.
Pat Boylan joining us here on the Payless Liquors hotline in his dulcet tones, according to Jeff Rickards. So I had to look up what that word meant, Pat, but it is very complimentary of you and your ability on, the airwaves. But one thing I wanted to kind of look at when it comes to this team? I know we kind of pivoted away from Aaliyah Boston and Kelsey Mitchell to start this conversation, but going back to Aaliyah, how impressed have you been with her effort on both ends? When you're going up against a great player, they're going to get theirs, but to be going tip for tap with A'ja Wilson, what do you think that says about the growth we've seen from Aaliyah Boston?
Well, that's exactly it, James. And I think it is maybe the biggest individual storyline of this series is that there have been a couple of games where Aaliyah Boston has gone, even with the league's MVP, and the Fever have won those games. And look, game one, I think she only had 6 points, but that didn't even begin to describe her impact. She had double-digit rebounds, was fantastic on Wilson defensively, and Wilson had probably the worst night of the playoffs so far, and maybe of her entire season. And the reason the Fever won that game, to me, look, Kelsey Mitchell was spectacular in that game, but I almost point to Aaliyah Boston in game one equally just because of her defensive impact on A'ja Wilson. Then fast forward to game number 4 on Sunday here at the Fieldhouse, and you're right. I mean, those two played almost exactly even, and when you can play even the MVP, to me, that sets everything else up for success. I think the other good thing from the Fever standpoint is, unlike game number 1, Wilson was great in game number 4. Boston just, essentially matched her. A few less points, but more rebounds. But I think it was good for the Fever to win a game where A'ja Wilson was on her A game, because I think it just showed them, that if game 5 goes a similar way where, this is what tends to happen in these do or die games in the history of both the WNBA and the NBA, the star players tend to take over. The MVPs act like MVPs. So realistically, you're probably not holding A'ja Wilson to something like 11 points here tonight. But the Fever showed themselves on Sunday that Wilson can score 30 and they can still win. And I think that's important too. So, to answer your question on Aaliyah, she has been, as young as she is, just in her 3rd year of her career, she has been so spectacular. I think just from a poise and an efficiency perspective, if nothing else, she brings so much to the game. And, it's amazing to watch what she's doing at such a young age. People don't realize she's only a few months older than Caitlin Clark. Now, she was drafted a year ahead, but in terms of her age, she's still one of the youngest players in the league. And that, can't be set aside in looking at everything that she's doing here so far. Because when you watch her, she doesn't appear like a young player, but she still really is a very young player in this league and still growing, but performing at a very high level already.
To take that one step further, too, I've been making this contention all along. If you took Aaliyah Boston and Kelsey Mitchell, put them on any team in the WNBA, that's a heck of a couple of pillars to build a team around. And as great as these role players have been at stepping up and doing a lot more than we ever expected them to do, those two could start for that's as good a duo as there is in the league, isn't there?
Yeah, no question. I think Kelsey Mitchell is going to be first team all WNBA, and I think Aaliyah Boston has a good shot at being second team all WNBA. And if that happens, you're talking about 2 of the top 10 individual seasons in the league this year being on the Fever. And it's especially remarkable to say that sentence and to not be talking about Caitlin Clark, who, of course, won't make it only because she's been injured. But Clark, in her rookie year, was on first-team All-WNBA and finished 4th in the MVP. And now you start to say some of that, and you start to think, man, what could be possible here in the future or even this year if you had Clark? And it really makes you, lament that injury some. It's been so frustrating not to have her on the floor. But I think this run has been good to show that, look, there's no doubt the Fever need Caitlin Clark to reach their ceiling. She's a spectacular player, and ultimately, to win the championships that I think this franchise will, they'll need Caitlin Clark on the floor to do that. But I think it's been a great show and a great spotlight for Kelsey Mitchell and Aaliyah Boston, because there are still really good players on this team not named Caitlin Clark. And I think especially in these scenarios, there's a lot of pressure on those two, because when you have this many injuries, your margin for error is just so slim. You have to have your all-stars play well because you just don't have the normal bodies that you typically have. I think it's a major key tonight. It's an obvious one, which is, why Kevin kind of said besides those two as we began the conversation. But it's a massive key, but it's an important one. Your all-stars have to play like all-stars when you are this shorthanded and your margin for error is what it is. And I think, what Kelsey Mitchell and Aaliyah Boston have done for this team, especially considering the circumstances, has been, in my opinion, one of the great storylines, not just in the WNBA this year, but really in all of sports.
Last thing for me, Pat. With all the discussion around the league and the officiating this year, what's your worry quotient like that we'll be talking about officials as much as we are talking about great play tomorrow after this Game 5 today?
Oh, gosh. I hope not. I hope that's not the case. I guess I haven't really thought of it in a quotient perspective. It has become a storyline, no question, of the playoffs this year, and maybe centered around other teams a little bit more than the Fever. I think you hope that you have a game where the officials, especially in a Game 5, a do-or-die type situation, I just always hope the officials, any coach will ask you that or tell you that they just want things called evenly. And when you get into these do-or-die, one game to take the whole thing type of scenarios, I always feel like the best way to officiate games like that are to let the players play and to not be sending players constantly to the foul line. And if you can do that and call it even and let the superstars on the floor determine the outcome of the game by not shooting free throws, I always think that's in everyone's best interest. It's got a huge spotlight tonight, because it's been such a topic of conversation. I hope not. I'm cautiously optimistic there that we will be talking tomorrow, hopefully about what Kelsey Mitchell and Aaliyah Boston did, and unquestionably Asia Wilson and Jackie Young. And listen, there's 4 Olympic gold medalists on that Las Vegas Aces team, so they're really, really good. I sure hope that's the storyline that we're talking about at the end of the day. I obviously hope the Fever win. I obviously hope we're talking about a trip to the WNBA finals, but at the end of the day, I really hope we're talking about what these individual players did to ultimately force the outcome that happens.
So watch it, Pat. They'll find you.
Coming after Pat Boylan next, yeah. Get some rest, buddy. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thanks, Pat.
Hey, great to be on with you guys. Happy to come on anytime.
There you go. I don't think I have ever heard Pat Boylan mess anything up, ever.
Flawless, great dude. Grew up with Pat. He is a great human. Again, Pacers training camp also opening up today, so busy time. If I have this correct,
there's some post-practice availability today.
Yeah, first training camp practice for the Pacers. They play their first preseason game next Tuesday. So
that's crazy.
If the Fever win tonight, they will be in the WNBA finals. They'll be the road team in a best-of-7 series. You could be looking at a home game next Wednesday, Friday. Those will be games 3 and 4. So that means next week you could be looking at a Friday Fever WNBA Finals home game. Saturday, IU at Oregon. And then Sunday.
What was that?
I like that. That's my version of Jamie's sports arousal, but go ahead.
Sunday, Colts home game. So how about that for a little October weekends?
Like
usually
that.
Not necessarily in our market, uber like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, boom, boom, boom. Woo. That's a pretty good little trio there as Jeff Rickard starts feeling something.
I did. I appreciate that. All right, coming up in just a moment, we'll get back to the Colts and what they need to do to get over the Rams and get ready for the Las Vegas Raiders. Also, we'll check in heavy with the fan text line at 239-1070. We'll even open up the lines if you want to get in at 239-1070, the old-fashioned way as well. It's all straight ahead, 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Just pointing out, the text line is all on board with the Reds, Kevin Bowen. Matt C. says, KB, the Reds will be playing next weekend as well. How about that? Let's go.
Yeah, and it was pointed out, too, Pacers do have a preseason home game with the Thunder next Saturday, sandwiched, I believe, right after a game for the Fever. So don't want to put preseason basketball yet in the same breath as the other stuff, but nonetheless could be an uber busy weekend here. And I want to make sure
Game 8 to me, best of 9.
Didn't we have a summer league game, Pacers Thunder too?
This is true, but I think the Pacers might have lost that one, so we're going to erase that from the memory.
Wanted to make sure we stuck this in from Aaron. I thought she pointed this out really well. We were talking with Pat Boylan. Natasha Howard tonight, James. Yes. I know the other Howard right now in the city we can maybe get to, of Xavier Howard with the Colts, but you think back to not only game 1 of this series, Howard was very good, but that clinching game in Atlanta, she stepped up as well in that game. Yes. I get that she might be walking up one of the final few holes of her very illustrious career, but she has certainly been used to environments like tonight, unlike probably a lot, frankly, of the Fever players. So that is worth pointing out, I think, as well.
I would think she and Kelsey Mitchell really value this game 5 tonight, just because they've been around for a while.
I think all of the value of it.
No, but you know what I'm saying? Like they truly appreciate the gift of how rare this opportunity is, where some of the younger players might not.
I would push back a little there, Jeff, and I agree with your sentiment, but I think Kelsey Mitchell's still young from a playoff perspective. Yeah. She hasn't been here before. Like, we look at Natasha Howard. She's won championships before, so she knows how hard it is to win games like this. And so, yeah, perhaps she can give a little of that confidence to the rest of the group. And, this is someone who stepped up previously. Like you said, in the Atlanta Dream series, we saw in the Commissioner's Cup final that she can have those sorts of nights where she turns back the clock and looks like the number one option. And so I'm not saying she has to be there tonight. I think Kelsey Mitchell and Aaliyah Boston will certainly carry a lot of that workload. But if you can get a big night from Natasha Howard, that would be big, especially if she can outplay someone like Nalissa Smith, who I think has had a pretty good series so far.
Mark, you are quite the topic of conversation throughout the text line this morning.
Oh.
Dan wants to know, how are your 5 screens organized by sport? Are they random? What is the setup over there?
1 is the streaming camera, 2 are for running the show, and then the other 3 are engineering. I don't touch those.
So 6, right?
Plus a television.
That's
like 18 inches.
There you go.
The more you know.
People have to know. My buddy Brett wants to know, can't remember if the pass play for the 88-yard touchdown for the Rams was down the Colts sideline or not, but just out of curiosity, could somebody have actually jumped into the play from the sideline had that been legal? Get that 11th guy on there in the middle of the play.
I think they would just rule you as a touchdown at that point. I think they can actually do that.
Oh, my goodness gracious. They
don't hate the idea, though.
No, I don't either.
For quite some time.
The Colts try to put it all behind them and get ready for the Las Vegas Raiders. And Kevin, my memory gets to be a bit foggy with games blending into each other, but haven't the Raiders proved problematic for this team at home over the past, when they have faced them like 3-4 years ago?
I know Derek Carr, if I remember correctly, beat them late in the 21 season. That was right before the Jacksonville game. I think that was kind of a heavy COVID game. I think Colts won it in Arizona on Christmas, lost a game to get in the postseason with the Raiders, and I want to say that was like interim head coach. And then I think then they lost to Jacksonville that week 17. But I remember that they beat Aiden O'Connell late in the season a few years ago. So it does seem like they show up pretty annually on the schedule here. This text from Dan, James, I'll throw it your way. Dan says this, is Xavier Howard and A.D. Mitchell are suited up on Sunday, you have to question the accountability of the staff. Fair statement?
Yes, I think it's a very fair statement. I'll probably lean
suited up or just not playing. Like, what if?
I mean, I'm fine if they're active but don't play. Like,
okay.
If you're a healthy scratch,
sort of
if you're not playing, you're not playing. We can get into the semantics of it all and who's actually officially on the roster for game day. But if they're not playing, I'm totally fine with that. I think Xavier Howard is probably unplayable at this point. He has been bad the first month of the season. I think he's getting exposed more, especially against teams that really have a couple of different receivers that can throw at you because, what is the value of having Travarius Ward if you know, okay, well, we'll just throw wherever the other guy is and we'll still be able to move the ball. So that's a big blow. And then A.D. Mitchell, again, you aren't focused enough to have earned our trust. And through his first 2 seasons, I would honestly argue, and I don't think it's a hard argument to make, that he has been more negative than positive for this football team. So they set him down for a game to let him know, hey, whatever you doing ain't going to fly here. You got to earn it, as Shane Steichen alluded to. I'd be okay with that. The benching will be warranted. And again, for the umpteenth time, people keep telling me, hey, well, JT fumbled. He did the same thing as A.D. Mitchell. Why don't they get the same punishment? You know, if JT didn't get benched, then why should A.D. Mitchell get benched? Because in the real world, people do not get treated equally. They get treated fairly. I think, you know, you ask any coach in America outside of youth sports, you're not going to treat your star player the same as you would a 4th-string wide receiver. That's just not reality. And so I also was, you know, getting this question a lot yesterday and even sometime today throughout the YouTube chat and some of our text line. It's like, well, you know, who gets grace and who doesn't? The players who've earned it. JT earned grace. A.D. Mitchell has not.
Yeah, I would agree wholeheartedly on that. Mark, let's go ahead and play this. This was Shane Steichen yesterday in regards to where things are at with Xavier Howard and his status.
Like I said, he's been a really good player in this league for a long time. You know, we got to do a better job looking at different things and, you know, helping him in certain situations. He is a talented player, but, you know, we got to improve in some areas for sure.
What do you guys make of that?
Again, fairly typical non-answer, but they keep sticking to him, and what I hear is they're just going to keep putting him out there is what it sounded like.
Go ahead, Mark.
He's been a good player. He's been.
That is a good distinction you've made, and I actually go the other way, Jeff. I think dealing with years of Shane Steichen, I think that he obviously doesn't say much, but there's a little there to at least suggest that they're thinking about making a change. And he won't come out and say it. And a lot of that, in fairness to him and other coaches, they usually will protect their player. They're not going to just come out on the first day and say, hey, we're benching this guy, we're cutting him, he's just no good, he's terrible. But that last part, we got to look at some things. I think that is actually a very serious statement from Shane Steichen.
Yeah, I think I'm with you there, James. You know, when he says we have to help him out, I'm kind of a little bit like, oh boy, does that mean that they're still going to play him and then whatever, contribute more help to him? Frankly, he should have had help on 4th and 2 on Sunday and not left him out there in man against Puka Nacua on that play. Again, I'll go back to what I said earlier. I think if I was Lou Anarumo, what would really, really be bothersome with Xavier Howard is not just he's allowing an insane amount of production to opposing offenses. Obviously, that speaks for itself. But I see questionable effort once these catches are being made, and where are the good plays in coverage? Again, corner is one of those positions in the NFL where you're naturally going to have some bad. By no means are you expecting perfect. Patrick Surtain, you watched him in week 2, the Colts got him a few times. You watched Patrick Surtain last night, there wasn't much getting him at all. Like that happens with corners. With Howard so far, there's no good in coverage. There's no playmaking.
Like nothing.
To offset it. So again, that would be bothersome. Now, what do? You know, obviously Kenny Moore's injury situation will be one to watch here in week 5. I think if Kenny is out again, James, to me, you go with Travarius Ward, you go with Mike Hilton in the slot, and then probably Mekhi Blackman, who they traded for with Minnesota. He did fall down on the Tutu Atwell touchdown there. I assume that would be the 3. I would be open-minded to giving Jonathan Edwards a chance, though, and that's the undrafted free agent out of Indiana State before he went to Tulane there. We're still, I think, 1 week away from Jalen Jones being eligible to come off injured reserve. He would definitely be one that I would look at, but again, we're still 1 week away there. So that's kind of how I view corner heading into week 5.
Larger question comes from Kevin K on the text line at 239-1070. Says, I still want to know where this incredibly clever new defense is. All I see is vanilla D as always. We can't stop anyone. Ugh. Is that too simplistic a question, or do we need to see more out of Lou Anarumo's stuff?
I would disagree.
Yeah, I'll probably disagree with that.
Yeah.
I mean, it took me a while to respond just because I'm going over it in my head. Like, I think that's a typical frustrated response after a game like that.
I get the 96-yard drive you can point to, and I heard a lot of this is Gus Brett. Like, I can hear that, but no, I think they have definitely disguised more. They've definitely done things that are not just strictly vanilla, simple Gus Bradley's ways. Again, it's not going to be perfect, but James, I thought one of the more better disguises that could have been a huge play in the game was early on that first third, or one of those first third downs, when Zaire Franklin, has a ball thrown right to him. Matthew Stafford never saw him. He thought he was coming, I think, on the blitz, and Zaire drops back, and boom, Stafford, throws it right to him. So I would disagree on that.
A lot of questions from people about the Colts. We'll be talking about it all week long here as they get ready for the Vegas Raiders. It's still weird to say Vegas Raiders. Although Vegas,
so?
Los Angeles,
Oakland,
who knows? Who knows what they'll be 5 years from now? They just bop around the West Coast. See how it all goes. Maybe they'll end up being a third team in Los Angeles before it's all said and done. But man, have you been out to the stadium in Vegas, James?
I have. I took
That's
my
a sweet
dad
one
on a
too,
tour
man.
of
Did he
that
like
stadium. Yeah. I still won the award for best award he's ever gotten in his life, or best present he's ever gotten in his life.
Yeah, but then he had to watch the Raiders play.
No, we didn't go watch the game. It was for like an award ceremony.
Look at that.
Yeah, I had won a journalism award, and the award ceremony was in Vegas. So I took my dad. This was probably 3 or 4 years ago. This was before I worked in the NFL, and we went and toured. It was right before it opened up, actually, because I remember when we toured it, they told us not to sit on any of the seats because they hadn't been sat in yet by any of the real fans.
You should be like, I'm testing these bad boys out. I got to make sure they're up to code.
But the place is, it is beautiful. It was one of the cooler tours that we got. And then we went into the locker room. They did a hologram John Gruden, where he popped up as a hologram and gave us his big old speech about, basically like as we were going out there to play.
I can't tell you how excited I am that you're here right now to win this award.
That was
Mark, that was great.
That was really good. Where'd that come from? You been working on that?
No. I just
He's
have
a
some
man
in my
of
back
many
pocket.
talents.
Yeah.
Man.
So, yeah, I have been there. It's a beautiful place to play.
Big guy, great job on winning that award there. I'm going to have you run Spider through Y Banana if you don't mind. Go on, get out there. Let's touch some grass.
Excellent.
All
you need is the Chucky doll, and you're good.
Speaking of Grudens, whatever happened to Jay Gruden? Is he still in the league? Is he still working for somebody somewhere? Anybody know?
I got nothing on Jay Gruden.
I don't either. I don't remember. Just kind of went away with the rest of that Commanders whole group a few years ago. I don't know what happened on that. But yeah, it'll be coming up Sunday afternoon, 1 o'clock. Las Vegas Raiders and the Indianapolis Colts, a chance to win their 4th of their first 5 games. And I think we've talked about this a lot yesterday, Kevin. Anybody that's a fan would have signed up for that on August the 15th.
1,000%. Yeah, I think I had 4-2 at the start, so obviously I didn't have 4-1. Well, I think I had at this point 2-2, I believe. I think I had losses to Denver and the Rams here. Mark, that line for Sunday, 6.5. Does that sound right?
That's what it was last night I checked. So, yeah, It's almost up to a touchdown favorite for the Colts.
I believe, I'd have to double check this. I believe that would be the second biggest favorite they've been under Shane Steichen. So you think about that. This is Shane Steichen's 39th game as Colts head coach, 2 seasons plus 4 games, and this will be the 5th game. So the second biggest favorite under Steichen. Good news, when they have been favored, they've won quite often under Shane. I guess the bad news is the time they were the biggest favorite, they did lose to the Giants. So if anyone cares about betting lines and how those could impact the game, that's what the Colts are looking like right now on Sunday. The second biggest favorite of any game in the Steichen era.
Fourth highest spread of Week 5 in the NFL among all games.
Geno Smith, awful on Sunday. Ashton Genty changed up his stance to his Boise State days and finally ripped off a couple big ones. Max Crosby's really good at football. No one can name a Raiders wideout. And Brock Bowers is... We have a tight end matchup to circle this week. And they lost their left tackle late in that game. And he's been their starter for years. So there's your 1-minute synopsis on the...
I am curious how Max Crosby and the Colts offensive line are going to match up because he was just flying around. It didn't matter where he was lined up every side of the field against the Bears. So I'll be curious how the offensive line handles him.
The Colts have done, again, this has kind of been an annual matchup to what we were just talking about earlier, Colts and Raiders. The Colts have actually done a decent job on Crosby. I want to say he only has 1 sack in his career, and that's like 4 or 5 games, which considering who he is. But this will probably be something I get to a lot here throughout the week as we get closer to talking Colts and Raiders. Something I would just like to see from the Colts when you play elite talents. And Max Crosby might hear his name in Canton one day. Don't let these players add to their Hall of Fame highlight reel. Like Puka Nacua, his team, they need to go back and edit the highlight reel for Puka Nacua to add Colts plays into it. That's my issue, James, with some of these great these are great talents. But why not just have Puka have an average day against you? It still would be good from a number standpoint, but Puka had the best day of his career against the Colts.
Yeah, like 70 is crazy.
For Genti or Bowers or Crosby, I mean, there are some individually uber talented players on the Raiders team, 3 of them probably, and then they fall off, I think, majorly really after that. Don't let them add to it. Think of the Cleveland game a few years ago. Like Myles Garrett just single-handedly took that game over. How about just a pedestrian game? Week 1, you did that with Tyreek Hill. You did a really nice job of keeping him just probably below average, honestly, for him. That's, I think, what I would ask for out of the Colts here coming up this week.
Yeah. That's what they need to do. Don't let the best players just run right all over you. And so we'll see what happens Sunday afternoon at 1 o'clock as the Colts try to contain. Are we worried about a Pete Carroll team? I know Geno Smith wasn't terrific in his last out, but are we worried that Pete Carroll still knows how to bring a game plan?
I'm not too worried about it. I mean, obviously he's a very good coach, a Super Bowl winning coach, but at the same time, they're devoid of a lot of talent over there. So from a talent standpoint, you have more of that than them. And I would argue that the Colts, outside of what we saw this past Sunday, have been a pretty good and well-coached team. So even from just a penalty standpoint, can you clean some of that stuff up to make sure that you're not giving away yards against the Raiders?
Can any of you name a single Raiders wide receiver right now in 5 seconds?
Jacoby Myers, Trey Turner.
Okay, there you go. Well, Trey Tucker,
I'm sorry, yeah.
Trey Turner is a solid shortstop, though.
Yes. Thank you.
Who's older, Belichick or Carroll?
Belichick.
Carroll?
Yeah, I was going to say Pete Carroll, right? He's in his...
Pete Carroll just turned 74.
Yeah, he's definitely
a couple weeks ago.
Bill's 73.
Belichick will be 74 in April. So Petey's got him by about 6 months.
He still looks like he's only 60, though.
Pete Carroll?
Yeah.
Well, look at what Belichick's looks have gotten him lately.
Yeah, but he's worn out because he's doing all these TikTok dances now.
That might not be the only reason he's worn out, Mark.
Well,
whoa.
Jeez.
Man.
I'm just talking about the heavy study and films on college football. That's all.
Not really leading to success on the field.
Man, oh, man. Text line pointing out that Jeff Saturday got his first win against Vegas. I forgot about that.
First and only, right?
Yeah.
Jonathan Taylor, if I remember correctly, James, had a big run in that game.
He was balling. I remember after that game, I talking to Grover Stewart in the locker room, and he told me all this commotion going on with all these coaching changes, and they got the win. And only Grover Stewart would use commotion.
I need more Southern drawl with Grover. If you're going to do your Grover.
I can't do it. His voice is too deep. My voice can't go that low.
You can do the Southern accent, though.
That was a great effort, though.
Yeah.
On the Grover.
I think the last time the Raiders were here, Kevin and I participated in a little shrimp eating contest. Is that correct? Is that the last time?
No. So, Mark, actually, that came across my email. I meant to send this to you. So, my Gmail is, filled up. They're like, hey, clean up space or whatever. And so I, go to the link where it says, hey, these are your largest files. I need to find it and send it to you, Mark. And I came across, I'm getting choked up thinking about eating the St. Elmo shrimp. I came across the video of you and I in the shrimp eating contest. Mark, that was the day of the Raiders actually winning here with Derek Carr. That started the 2021 collapse. People are saying, this is what people are saying, that you and I started the Carson Wentz collapse.
It was our fault.
Colts lost at home against an interim head coach, if I remember correctly, with the Raiders. If you win that game, you're in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
So then you had to go to Jacksonville and win the Week 18 game to get in, and then you lose that. I got to send you this video. Mark typed in one, by the way.
The championship belt is in the office. I should grab it in the break. And just let you...
Query, fake COVID. Mark filled in and...
Like, you cheated, too, because all of a sudden we're about to start and you pull out a jug of milk. Joey Chestnut told me, I'm like, what is this? This is illegal, performance-enhancing drugs.
That was impressive preparation by going to the source.
Thank you, Jeff. Again, Jeff, coming to my accurate defense here. There is no cheating. That was simply planning. I was like the European Ryder Cup team, planning ahead.
And you lost anyway.
Wow.
Quite handedly by my estimation.
No, that's not true.
All right, before we go to the
I'm going to
check,
find this video here, Mark.
before we go to the check down, the commish pointing out that Jay Gruden last coached anywhere in 2022. So maybe
Is Deuce Gruden still a strength coach for the Raiders?
That's a good question. We'll have to find out, Mark. We did some preparation done, like the milk for Kevin, coming up before the game on Sunday.
Might have to.
Let's check it down.
The Morning Checkdown on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Lead today, playoffs. The Fever at the Aces, 9:30 p.m. tonight in the desert at Las Vegas, 9:15 airtime with Eddie Garrison right here on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. It's going to be another terrific showing for the Fever if they can pull this one off. They did it in Game 4 with tremendous play by Aaliyah Boston down low. Kelsey Mitchell on the edges. Odyssey Sims was contributing. Lexi Hull getting key steals and rebounds. Everybody chipping in. They'll need that again tonight, James.
Absolutely. This is for all the marbles. This is to go to the finals. And so I would expect all hands on deck. And like we said earlier throughout the show, can the others step up? Odyssey Sims, Lexi Hull, like you said, Jeff, Natasha Howard. We expect the stars to be there, Kelsey Mitchell and Aaliyah Boston, but you're hoping that they have some company there in the biggest game of the season.
It's going to be a very late night because there are also baseball playoffs. It starts at 1 o'clock this afternoon. If you're interested, Tigers Guardians at 1. Padres Cubs at 3, Mark Dykton. You're blocking off 2.5, 3 hours of your day today, right?
Lock, cocked, and ready to rock.
There we go. Then the Boston Red Sox and Yankees play at 6. And then the Reds, the Dodgers, 9 o'clock tonight. It is a 2-TV night in the Bowen household tonight, right?
Look at that.
As you show, what are you showing there to Mark?
So this is on the Jumbotron. I forgot that they then aired it on the Jumbotron during halftime, Mark.
Yeah, we went to the game as a family, and my daughter's like, "That's you on TV. How are you there and not here?" I'm like, "Well, that was earlier, but that was pregame."
Shout out to the great Jimmy Mad Dog Matus who emceed that for us. Yeah, boy, the looks on these cheerleaders' faces as they're staring at my. I moved the Dasani water to the side and brought out my nice milk. I remember stopping at a gas station on the way down to the stadium.
You were
get the milk.
You were well prepared, and you still lost.
You lost.
Oh my goodness!
Did everything stay down for both of you?
Yeah,
it did. But I remember I had 1 or 2 gags that I thought to myself, "Oh my gosh, this is coming right back up."
Well, you held it off. I'm proud of you. The Constitution, sturdy there.
Mark, congrats on the win.
Thank you.
Impressive effort.
I'm bringing the championship belt in the break. You need to see it. I'll let you touch it.
A couple of other baseball notes. This happens at the end of every year. Out, Bob Melvin in San Francisco. Out, Rocco Baldelli for the Minnesota Twins. Out, Bruce Bochy with the Texas Rangers. Just a couple of years after a World Series win, Mark. They're not messing around down there.
Not playing around. Not at all.
Coming back, the Mets' Carlos Mendoza, and Don Kelly gets an extension with the Pittsburgh Pirates. So a lot of skippers getting news of their future yesterday. There was a doubleheader Monday Night Football last night. Dolphins beat the Jets 27-21. Broncos over the Bengals 28-3. But the big story from either game, Tyreek Hill out for the season with multiple ligament tears, all kinds of things going on there, Mark. They're worried about whether, even if he came back fully healed, whether or not he could play next year.
Dislocated kneecap, torn ACL, and multiple ligaments. So surgery today, and yeah, they said his outlook even for 2026, obviously not rosy given the amount of damage that had happened.
All right, there was media day yesterday for the Indiana Pacers. Tyrese Halliburton will not be playing this year. He's coming back from an Achilles injury, but he did have a lot to say about the Pacers and the standard, the level that they have set, the expectation moving forward.
Well, the standard is the standard. We have created a culture here that is special in this league, and it's something that I really care about. When I got traded here, the only guy that's still here from that group is TJ, and there wasn't much of a culture here. Coach Rick and the staff were helping build that, and I think we've done a great job, and that's not changing. So just because I'm not playing, I'm still going to play fast, still going to pick up full court, play with the infectious joy and energy that we always do.
It still feels, James Boyd, like they finished the season about 10 days ago, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, when you play to the last possible day of the season, that is what happens. And so you got a new endeavor on deck for this team and certainly some new roles. I would think for Andrew Nembhard and Benedict Mather and Jarris Walker, and then that center rotation, which you alluded to earlier, Jeff, where you're trying to figure out, is it Isaiah Jackson? Is it Jay Huff? Is it, someone else like James Wiseman in that mix? And so a lot of moving parts for this team, but I'm excited to see what they do.
All right, coming up in a moment, we'll hear more from the Pacers at Media Day yesterday. In the meantime, we take a quick time out at 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Tuesday morning, 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. James Boyd back from Los Angeles. Kevin Bowen here, rock solid and steady as always. Mark Dykton spinning the hits. I like to get people to imagine you as wearing a glittery jacket, some gold chains, working on a couple of turntables at the same time, things like that.
Strip club DJ.
Huh?
Strip club DJ.
Well, no, any like DJ.
Fantasia.
Do you seen some of these? No. Do you seen some of these DJs that are filling up stadiums all over the place these days, man? You can make some money doing that, Mark Dykton.
Well, I can't record scratch anything. I can play some hits though.
All right.
The Red Garter buffet DJ.
The shrimp cocktail has been reapplied.
I was there yesterday. Yeah, everything looked like it was running. It was good.
Maddie online too.
2-for-1 nachos over by the stage.
Oh my goodness, the hits just keep on coming, Mark Dykton. But the Indiana Pacers are going to try to regroup from just a devastating tough end, as we all know, to Game 7 of the NBA Finals. Everybody was in a pretty good mood yesterday. I know, James, you were on the way back from the plane. I was watching some stuff online and seeing a lot of stuff on the Pacers social feeds last night, and they seem to be in a pretty good mood and ready to get going again. And everybody was talking yesterday, as they tend to do at Media Day. That's kind of how they were. We've heard from Tyrese Halliburton a few times this morning, but I want to get you guys some thoughts on Aaron Nesmith, and his role is certainly going to change a little bit, as well as a couple of other players in the absence of Tyrese Halliburton. Here's what he had to say on everybody this year who is doubting that they have the ability to win a bunch of games and get right back to the postseason.
You got to turn the page at some point and understand that, this is a brand new season, brand new opportunity. And, per usual, a lot of people have written us off because of Tyrese. But, we're used to proving people wrong and shocking people. So it's going to be nothing new this year.
There you go. A little defiant there, James Boyd. You would expect nothing less. But not having Tyrese Halliburton is going to leave a huge, huge void in that lineup.
Absolutely. I think when you look at what his impact on the team, his impact on winning, the Pacers, led by Tyrese, are usually a much better team with him on the floor. So I get that he might not have the gaudy numbers of like an SGA or a Luka Doncic or, someone who fills it up on a regular basis and averages close to 30 points a game. But I think what I've learned with Tyrese is you have to watch the games to really understand that his impact goes beyond the box score. And so they're going to miss that a lot, and then we have to see how everyone else adapts to their new roles. I think Andrew Nembhard is going to have a lot on his plate this year, but with him sliding over to more of that offensive facilitator role, Kevin, I think that you have to think, okay, who's going to take that defensive matchup now of guarding everybody's best player on the perimeter? Aaron Nesmith will certainly have some of that workload, but there is an avenue there for someone to take some playing time up.
Yeah, Mathurin is just inevitably going to fall into some of that, and has he taken steps as an on-ball defender, I think will be big as well. Boy, I just love how Nesmith's wired. That comment is how he plays. He plays with an edge to him. I thought probably the name I heard the most yesterday from guys, talking about, hey, who's impressed, who's kind of stood out to you, was the name of Johnny Furphy, and not just because of the Summer League dunk. And Rick Carlisle loves, I've always said this about Rick in regards to talking about some of his players. He loves himself some Ben Shepherd. He talks about Johnny Furphy in a very similar light. Now, again, how does Furphy get consistent playing time, or where does he get it? Is Jarris Walker primarily that wing with the second unit? Does Furphy crack that rotation? And this is kind of the reality of where you're at with this Pacers season of, yes, I still think, like someone sent me earlier, you can get plus money. You can make money on betting on the Pacers to make the postseason. I don't think it's great. It's like $10 to win 14. I would take that. I think the Pacers will be a playoff team. But in all reality, you're probably not playing as deep, certainly, as you did last year. The question for this season, along with obviously trying to win games, is, all right, who are the other pieces that can grow with Tyrese Halliburton's next window?
Yeah.
That, to me, is such a big storyline this year. Miles Turner, obviously, is not going to be in the next window. We'll see how long Pascal Siakam can stay in that next window. And again, I'm talking about, what's Halliburton, 26, probably 27 years old, something like that. I'm talking about playing into his early 30s. Well, from an age standpoint, guys like Jarris Walker and guys like Johnny Furphy fall into that potential.
He's not that old. He's 25.
He's only 25? Really?
Turns 26 next year.
Okay, so let's say 26 next year, whatever. Takes him a year to get ready. 27 is when he's back, and then playing into those early 30s. Again, who is alongside him for that run? And to me, Walker and Furphy, again, based off ages, would be in that boat. And, Rick Carlisle said this to us after Furphy was drafted. They had him like 13th or 14th on their draft board. So they clearly thought really, really highly of him. Again, right now, it's a little fuzzy on exactly where he fits, but, this would be his junior season at Kansas. So exactly where is he at from a growth standpoint? I think I'm intrigued to see that.
Well, it's going to be a lot of fun to watch them play. I do think that they have a standard. I do like the way they play. I still think they have the ability to wear teams down. Pascal Siakam also talking about what to expect this coming year and more about the standard and how they play.
For us, like last year, and the way we play as a team, like it's always been about team. Like it's never been about one person, and I think this year is not going to be different. We all got to have to do it collectively, And I was telling the guys, like, it's not going to take one person to replace Ty. It's not like we're going to all have to do it collectively. And that's the way we got to think about it. I think that mentality of like, oh, the number one option and this is just, it's kind of played out. Like, I think if you look at it around, like you got to be a team to be able to win. Like, you can be the number one guy all you want. Like, if your team don't win, it doesn't matter. And most of the time you can't win alone. Like, you have to have a collective, a group, and you got to do it together. So that's the way I'm approaching it. I'm excited though about like the like continue to step up as a leader, continue to make sure that I lead by example. And we had a lot of conversation with Coach just about setting the precedent and again for us as a team, we've set the standard. Like we can't go under the standard that we set now. So we gotta go out there and do it every single night, and I got to be a leader out there in terms of that. Like, I think that's what I care most about, going out there, doing the right things, and playing together as a team.
That's what I love about everybody that I heard speak yesterday. This truly, in this day and age of the NBA, is a group, a collection of players that have bought into the Rick Carlisle system of it takes every single one of us. There is no one. Obviously, Tyrese became the face of this team, and he did amazing things, as we all saw. But this idea that it's going to take all of us, usually in the NBA, one or two guys, and clear the other side out and let's go. The Pacers don't play that way.
Yeah, I think last year I said this quite often in the playoff run. There's a collegiate feel to the Indiana Pacers. I think that's what kind of added to the heartbroken nature of what happened there in Game 7, how everything ended. It's like, damn, you're not used to seeing the emotional state of all these tears walking off the floor, and it felt like whatever, the high school team losing a heartbreaker in sectionals, or the college team losing a game short of the Final Four. That's kind of the feel. And boy, you could probably do a drinking game to the word standard yesterday. The Pacers do have a standard.
They certainly either all accepted what has been said in the offseason, or they are good at their talking points, James Wood.
I mean, I think it's easier to buy in when you have the success that they've had the last couple of years. I mean, back-to-back conference finals runs, and obviously last year going to the finals. And so when you have that amount of success and you tell the guys, believe in us and believe what we're trying to do here, yeah, I would certainly, be more inclined to listen if I've seen what these other guys are doing. So very curious to see how it all shakes out. I do think there's going to be some growing pains within that, because when you expand to certain roles, you start to see why guys are star players and some guys aren't. Like, for example, I trust that Andrew Nembhard can take another step forward, but can he be a star? I'm not so sure about that. I don't know, because I think I don't want to take what Tyrese Halliburton has done for granted at that point guard position. And in the same way with Benedict Mathurin, it's like you wanted a bigger role. Here, now you have it. What does that look like on a night-to-night basis when we rely on you to, play more Pacers brand of basketball, where they want him to move the ball pretty fast, make quick decisions, but also I do think that the absence of Tyrese kind of lends itself to have Benedict be more of who he is naturally, which is a guy who go get you a bucket. So what does that dynamic look like for him throughout the season? And the other guys as well, like TJ McConnell, older guard, bigger role. Can he still be that Energizer bunny if he's playing more minutes a night than he was last year? So all these things are a factor for sure, but the number one thing is we know, as we will have him on our airwaves throughout the season, Rick Carlisle will not make any excuses for this ball club at all. And so they know what's at stake. And unlike when Tyrese went down at the end of the season and during the finals, and Game 7, you're just trying to figure out how to, win one game without him. This time around, you're going into a year having to prepare for his absence. And so you have more of a game plan.
Yeah, and you just hope, getting back to what you're saying about Mathurin, you can't help but think that those big moments he had in big playoff games start to lay the foundation that, yeah, I can be this guy. I can do this all the time. I've performed in big moments and big games at big times. Now I need to do it 82 nights a year.
I think the Mathurin conversation is one of the more fascinating ones that, honestly, we've had in this market in a little bit of time. It's like every time you hear the Pacers talk about Mathurin, every time you hear Mathurin get asked questions, it so much revolves around, hey, can you fit us? Can you adjust to us? And I understand it, but I also sit here like, didn't this dude have 2 20-point games in the NBA Finals off the bench? I mean, like,
that's impressive.
Does that stuff just grow on trees? No, he was the third leading scorer on a team that got to the NBA Finals at the age of what, 22? I get that you want to continue to see growth in him, but as he is, it's a pretty darn good player and a pretty unique player to how the Pacers are set up. So, boy, the Mathurin conversation is going nowhere. It's going to be front and center all year long, to James's point. I mean, he's going to be kind of that lead guy, you would think. And, how do end-game situations go? Is it Nembhard and Siakam in the two-man game? Does Mathurin get involved in any of that? Nesmith is still a young player. Is there ascent in his game? But I am bullish on the Pacers being a playoff team. But at the same time, and James hit on this right at the start of the segment, I think there will be many nights where we sit here the next morning and say, damn, Tyrese Halliburton does so much for this basketball team. And it's not just purely the points and assist numbers. It is the ability to get Nesmith, instead of Nesmith getting 6 clean looks a night, does that turn into 3 clean looks without Halliburton? Just like that little example of it. And honestly, you should factor in center too, because I mentioned earlier in the show, you hear that Siakam audio. I mean, he was very public in his praise for Miles Turner in the fit next to him. Well, Isaiah Jackson, while he has different attributes that he brings to center position, one of them is not stretching the floor. So what does that do to your overall starting lineup, particularly Siakam's ability to work in space?
All right, that's the Pacers, who are back to work just off Delaware Street and getting ready to go for another NBA season coming up in a moment. It is going to be an intense, busy, fun night for all of us here in Indianapolis tonight. We'll talk about it next on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Mark, we all need some help. I certainly need some help. I'm looking at our Fan Show Fantasy League, and right now I've got Aaron Jones on injured reserve. I now have Tyreek Hill out for the season. Terry McLaurin is out for a while. Darnell Mooney is questionable. I'm going to have to go find me a wide receiver somewhere, my man.
Yeah, so this is going to be a very fascinating week for if you're involved in fantasy football at all, because not only are there some major injuries going on, but we also are in the first bye week of the season. So the Packers, Bears, Steelers, Falcons all on bye. So some big-name players not going to be playing this week. Plus, you lost Tyreek Hill last night. Malik Neighbors out for the season. Some big names already lost on the wide receiver front as we only enter week 5 of the season. I would turn you toward Rashid Shaheed from the Saints. If he's available, he's still around about 40% of leagues. Another one to keep an eye on, Darius Slayton of the Giants. He's expected to pick up the slack with Neighbors out. He's available in over 97% of leagues. So a guy who's probably going to see an uptick in his looks per game has just gone up with Jackson Dart. So I would look at those two guys to see if they're available. So 40% for Shaheed, about 97% for Darius Slayton. Running back wise, target Texans running back Woody Marks, who's starting to get more run, available in about 70% of leagues. Probably going to be one of the top ads of the week. And also, we talked about this guy last week. He's still available in quite a few leagues. Amari DiMercado of the Cardinals. He's starting to get more run, got a touchdown late. He's starting to get more reps. If you can find him around there and you're looking for some running back help, that is a way to go. Also, defensively, Packers are on a bye. Now that they've been very, very great in that shootout against the Cowboys. But the Browns are available. The Browns defense, the Browns offense, not so good. The Browns defense is pretty good. Try to target them if you're looking for a defensive replacement with the Packers defense or one of the other defenses on bye this week.
It's been a tough one. I know we got the games coming up tonight, dual TV night with the Las Vegas Aces and Indiana Fever going at 9:30. And, of course, at 9 o'clock, the Reds taking on the Dodgers. And before that, Cubs playing this afternoon at 3 o'clock. So what is your viewing habit du jour today, Kevin Bowen?
Well, you got to pump the coffee in, and then we will hear from the Colts coordinators a little bit after noon today. So Lou Anarumo, it'll be interesting to hear his thoughts on where things are at. Obviously, a lot of storylines on his side of the ball, and where is he at with Xavier Howard, things like that, coming up a little bit after noon today before the Colts get back to work on Wednesday.
What's your TV viewing look like tonight, James Boyd?
The Fever. That's the main thing. Trying to see if they will go to the finals like the Pacers did, which I think that'll probably be a very rare occurrence for two teams from the same city, WNBA and NBA, to advance to the finals in the same calendar year.
You think it's ever happened?
I'm sure it has happened before, but I would imagine, again, it's probably pretty rare.
Well, again, 9:30 if you're, some people will be at work or driving around or whatever. If you can't get to a TV screen, you can listen to the Fever at 9:30 with the tip time and the 9:15 pregame show with Eddie Garrison here on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. I did finish up Ozark last night, Mark.
Thoughts?
I'm still processing the whole thing. I suppose they probably ended it about the way it needed to be ended. I don't know if I should say any spoilers or not. I mean, the show's been over for, 3-4 years. I was very late to the party.
Mm-hmm.
I knew it was going to happen. I just knew it was going to happen. But, man, I didn't want to see Ruth go. She'd finally turned it all around and gotten herself together.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, you just listed a spoiler there. So.
No, I just said,
Yeah, well, there's that.
But the show's been over for how long now?
I don't know. I can't remember.
22, I think it ended.
Well, there you go. Yeah.
We didn't spoil it for you. We waited till you got to watch it.
Were you going to watch it, James?
I've seen it.
Okay.
That's why I didn't spoil it.
There you go. What did you think of the ending without saying too much?
I mean, it's been so long. I would have to take your word for it. I haven't watched it in some years now.
I've noticed that too. When you binge watch things, have you guys noticed that a year later after the binge watch, you forget a lot of it? Maybe you took too much in too fast?
That's the problem with these TV shows that take a year or two in betwin shows. I'm like Stranger Things. I'm I don't remember what the hell happened. No, I don't remember.
I'm done with Stranger Things. I mean, outside of the Fever's jerseys, which, I mean, I do like those. Those are pretty sweet.
I love that they still rock them.
Yeah, those are sweet. But the show itself, I mean, all those kids grown now.
Yeah, like in between seasons, they grow like 3 or 4 years. Like, they're still in elementary school. Like, these kids are 20-some years old. They're dropping Colt 45s. What are we talking about?
It'd be like the Grease movie where everybody playing the high school kids is 32, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now. Yeah, 11, Millie Bonnie Brown is 21. So
yeah, she's married, and I think she's
it's been a while since she was 11.
James, quick little scan of it. 21, you had both the Phoenix teams, so Suns and Mercury, in the finals. You got to go all the way back to the LA teams in the early 2000s. So hasn't happened too often, NBA and a WNBA team from the same city in the finals. Boy, I was reminded scrolling through it. Remember the Detroit Shock? There's so many WNBA teams that don't exist anymore.
And they were like a dynasty.
Yeah.
Aren't they getting like re-upped?
The Houston Comets. Remember how good Cynthia Cooper was?
Yeah, I think she's won like something crazy, like 4 straight WNBA Finals MVPs.
Well, she was amazing, but Cheryl Swoops was on that team as well.
Yeah, they were loaded right out of the gate.
Man. That was as great as the talent is now, and it's probably better than it ever has been, top to bottom. The top level talent in the late 90s and early 2000s was really insane when you go back and look at some of those teams. But tonight, the Fever will try to make their mark. Game 5 of a semifinal series, see if they can get back to a WNBA Finals. Remember, they have won a championship. Let's see if they can do it again. But they got a lot of work to do yet still. And again, 9:30 is the tip tonight. That'll be on ESPN TV, I believe, James.
I'll have to double-check myself.
Yeah, I believe ESPN2. I think playoff baseball is on ESPN, and I believe ESPN2. And I think the finals would start on Friday, I want to say. If the Fever would win again next week, they would have the home games in the finals if they're able to get it done. Tonight, big underdog. Vegas is doubting them. And we'll see if the Fever can go back to Vegas and do what they did in Game 1. 7.5-point underdog here, the Fever, tonight.
Well, like I said, got to get off to a quick start. That's the one thing we know about this series, man. They have not shown the ability to rally from a double-digit. They've done it with other teams, but not against Las Vegas, James. The other night they got down 15. They just never could really get back close.
Yeah, you do not want to give them any life early on. You want to make sure you're in the game throughout the game. And as we always say, if you get down to the wire and it's a 1-2 possession game, it's anybody's chance to go on to the finals.
It also feels in one game like it could become a 3-point shooting contest, too.
Yeah, it's kind of a March Madness feel. It's one game for all the marbles.
Yeah, all right, so that'll be coming up later on tonight. Appreciate all your contributions today. Keep the text line humming throughout the day at 239-1070. For Jake, who comes your way from noon to 3, and JMV, as always, from 3 to 6. Have a great Tuesday.